And I think we should return to the American tradition of making politicians afraid again. For too long, we have allowed our so-called leaders to tell us how we should feel and everything else. Now, I am not like my partner here, Fabian, who is an anarcho-capitalist, but I do understand exactly where he comes from. And it is actually quite strong in the American tradition to not like your politicians. I was there at January 6th. No one thought they were going to overthrow the government. Anyone who thinks that you can overthrow the government simply by sitting in the Capitol building must be inbred. I mean, you got to be missing chromosomes. You are a bit slow. And for Bones of Doom, which I give him credit. I give him credit for actually sitting here and trying to make these claims. Sir, you're wrong. You're just simply wrong, especially in today's day with today's technology. For Christ's sakes, when they voted several hours later, guess what? They didn't even do it inside the Capitol building. They did it remote, just like what they did throughout all of 2020 as they governed from a webcam, as we sit here and discuss things from a webcam in multiple different time zones and everything else. The idea that holding a specific building will overthrow the government is redonkulous in today's society. Did the political persecutions end for the Jan 6ers? Yes, only because of the ideal of double jeopardy. Jeopardy has attached. And since Bones actually, he sat there and admitted that he believes that constitutional rights exist, therefore double jeopardy is a thing. And so he has to admit that Orange Man was rad for actually letting these people go, pardoning them because the government was heavy-handed. And he should be thankful because it has set a precedence. That way people on his side can do it when the government gets a bit over heavy-handed with his side of the aisle. And I appreciate it tonight, Sarah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. And Fabian, you may take your soapbox back. Go ahead.
Yeah. So just from the top, right? Let me just go through the entire debate, adjudicate it right now. No, I'm kidding. I understand. I just to put myself on the other side of the screen for a moment. I don't think Orange Man was rad. I think Trump is a piece of shit. I think he deserves to be politically prosecuted in his own damn self. But the question is not about whether is not to decide, to have whataboutism, which is what we kind of got the entire debate. Unfortunately, some of which was probably fueled by us trying to showcase that hypocrisy and why it was indeed a political prosecution. But much of it was, just kind of parroting the state's charges, which is, not really helpful at all. That being said, the question is was there political prosecution, right? Persecution, sorry. And it's very obvious that there was political persecution. I don't think anyone sane or rational would disagree with that. I think the prompt is kind of a slam dunk in and of itself because we all know that there was political persecution. And, according to Bones of Doom, what the court finds is God, right? So it doesn't matter that Jen Lowe was at family prayer meetings. It doesn't matter that, that there were several informants that were involved with communications with the defense team. None of that matters because the judge said, nuh-uh. But, judges did find and DOJ did find there was over 23,000 warrantless queries of individuals at January 6th without the proper authorization. So I guess, I have to give up those other rights violations and just say that the what the judge says is right. And in those instances, that's a violation of their rights. So, I kind of already win by his own metric there. That being said, Bones of Doom, I applaud you for essentially doing a 2v1 tonight because of tech issues and things of that nature. I think it is important to recognize, if you take anything away from this, is that the state holds all of this power. And you have to be very, very, very careful when Americans are challenging the state's power and how the state responds to that challenge. And I think January 6th is a dark day, not because of insurrection, but because of the fact that the state did not do any due diligence or take any accountability for all of the ways in which this election was at best incredibly sloppy and violating a lot of the own rules that they set forward and a lot of their own precedents, and then told the American people to shut the fuck up. And when they fought back in the most mild of ways, right? Nobody except Ashley Babbitt died that day. Some people got injured that potentially may have died because of injuries on that day, maybe. But literally, this is more peaceful than almost all of the mostly peaceful Black Lives Matter protests that occurred leading up to it. And on something that is incredibly important. And the way the government responded was with the heaviest hand it could get away with. And supporting that sets a dangerous precedent for when the right is in power. And I think many of the left are seeing that now with ICE detentions. They're seeing that now with deportations of people that are on visas in colleges and things of that nature. And it's only the beginning. When you excuse it on the other side, you allow them to use that weapon against you. And you're lucky that Donald Trump, the piece of shit that he is, isn't as heavy-handed as Biden was. And you may not be so lucky in the future when another conservative, Republican, or fascist is in power. So even if you hate January 6th, I implore every leftist to rethink it and think about what it means when the state has the power to stop those forms of protest.
All right. Thank you so much, Fabian. I appreciate it. And also, Lucas said, my closing statement is I'm handsome and correct, and these chuds are wrong. We appreciate you, Lucas. I know tech issues are, they really can be a killjoy sometimes, but we'll get you situated for the next round. Okay, if you are wanting to join for open panel Q&A, the link has been getting dropped into the live chat. If anybody else is streaming to their audience and you want to drop it, it's backstage for you if you'd like to do so. We're going to run through a few donos real quick. We received an anonymous donor for $25 just to say hello to Mater Nation. Shout out to you, darling. Tom Carpenter says, yeah, but they weren't illegal aliens, so their rights didn't matter. Shout out to you. Kevin Vincible, I like that. With the Big Five says, evidence from court records, witness testimony, and police reports confirms that individuals involved in the January 6, 2021 Capitol attack had firearms. Would anybody like to respond to that?
I think out of the thousands of people that were there, I think they located maybe 1 or 2 firearms on the premise. So, meh. It's America.
I mean, I think there might have been more than that in the final tally, but I think what ends up happening is you get a lot of media reporting and equivocation between the usage of the word firearm and the usage of the word weapon. And so the media did this really interesting, like, kind of magic trick where they would talk about weapons. And so the flag pole would be considered a weapon. And so then they would be like, oh, these people were armed and dangerous and they had weapons and all this other stuff. It's like, yeah, some people, obviously, you get enough people together, they're going to have firearms, right? Mm-hmm. And particularly, I think that was one of the greatest mistakes of January 6th is that they didn't all bring guns. I think you all should have brought guns. I think there should have been 80,000 guns there. And I think it would have been a very, very different situation.
It would have been peaceful as hell.
But I'm a little crazier. I'm a little crazier than other people. So, yeah.
And so I ran into one person that had an entrenching tool. Like an army shovel that's foldable or
like
whatever.
The one you like fold over and sit
on.
Yeah.
Speaking of weapons, I mean, look, this is Sean Dunn's weapon right here. Okay.
So I literally.
Dunn? So he basically he was a person who was protesting the police at one point, and he threw a sandwich in front of them.
Yeah,
there was this whole trial about
Subway sandwich.
Yeah, the Subway sandwich. So this is me like showing solidarity.
Can I just say right now, I endorse, without a doubt, throwing Subway sandwiches at cops.
I mean, they are shitty sandwiches.
I'm not going to tell you a specific cop or a specific time, right, to not violate TOS or anything. But if you throw a Subway sandwich at cop, I want to see that on my feed. Like, that shit's hilarious.
Or a food truck burrito. That'd be fun too.
Ooh, now I'm hungry, you bastards.
Do you
I
really want to
think
waste
every
like a good food truck burrito though?
No,
You.
no, I
Exactly.
shame all of you for doing that.
But a
I-
Subway sandwich though, absolutely.
I
Well,
don't
Subway
know.
sandwiches are
Their
garbage.
chicken teriyaki and the chicken bacon and ranch, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. I mean, I love food. So,
Yeah.
all right. And again, reminder, if you do want to get backstage, now's the time to get back there. And we'll get you up here in just a second for open panel Q&A. Iotin says, questions, concerns, put it in a tomato tax and you will be heard. Cool secondary effect, gauntlet mode. Yes, you guys did earn your gauntlet mode. We got some cash apps that came through that completed the dono goal. So you are most welcome. We will go into full gauntlet mode tonight. And Iotin also sent out 5 Raging Tomato memberships. Congratulations to you, lucky lottery winners. I think we actually got a newbie in the chat who got hit with one. Congrats to you and welcome. Carpenter Tom doing what Mama Tomato said. Mama Tomato's been in the chat all night telling you guys what to do. And Tom Carpenter, of course, obliged. And also obliged a little further. He sent in a big 50 on the Cash App to say, as Mama says, Tama does. Thank you so kindly. Tom Carpenter, we appreciate you. Proud supporter here at Mater Nation. And of course, Jim has returned once more. We haven't scared him away yet, but he sends in the Big 10 to say good stuff. And last and final one I'll read for now before we open the panel. Calvin says, at Fabian, you're getting your soapbox back. Why do J6er empathizers always run to BLM to justify their actions for attacking and trying to delete politicians? Destroying or looting property is not the same as attempted murder.
Yeah,
Murder.
well, I think there is I mean I think attempted murder, right, is not the same thing as looting or destroying private property, in the sense that a life kind of has like a a subjective infinite value, whereas there is a value to the private property that you're destroying. Right. I will say this: if someone is looting or destroying your property, you should be able to off them, right? Just fucking kill them right then and there. And you should be able to piss on their corpse and laugh about it and film it and put it all over social media. That being said, if they do escape and they apologize, then, then we can adjudicate how much money they owe for the destruction of property that they did. In terms of murdering a politician, there's a relatively few politicians that you could actually murder and it wouldn't just be a justified killing. Right, I think Thomas Massey might be one. I'd have to go deeper into like Ron Paul's to see if he is one. But any politician that has advocated and voted for taxation, that has voted for, increasing money being spent, any politician that has advocated for any war that has ever existed, et cetera, right? Any of these human rights violations, then you can't really murder them, right? You're just getting back restitution for the crimes that they've committed. That being said, if they recant their crimes, they apologize for the theft that they voted for and supported, right? Then maybe we can determine, what punishment is justifiable. But yeah, like you can't murder a politician that is stealing from you, stealing millions and billions from you so that they can go bomb brown kids somewhere. Like that's not really murder. That's just justice.
Oh my God. Fair enough. All right.
It's like I condemn.
I love Fabian. Scott, you're amazing.
Fabian, if there's anything I've learned from you from I've been in the Twitch poll scene for a little bit. So like I've kind of been around on all the Twitch poll streams listening in, but if there's anything, you are pretty steadfast on your political opinions.
And also no fucks given. All right, gentlemen, you ready?
Well,
to
there's some fun. I don't violate TOS. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know.
That is true.
Not doing
I follow
that.
the rules.
That's
Careful to follow the
Go
rules.
right up to the line. That's all you got to do.
Look,
I'm just saying, I may be 10 times crazier than Jason, but I've never been banned on Twitch, all right? Or on
I'm not
YouTube.
banned on Twitch.
You were for a period of time, as was mentioned
Ooh,
earlier.
yeah. That is
Are we
true.
ready to meet
That
our
is true,
panel,
buddy.
gentlemen? They're all waiting patiently backstage to talk to you. Let's go.
house.
and gentlemen. Yeah, and I have 2 more waiting backstage as well to join in. So we will get through this, and then of course, once we move into full gauntlet mode, you can begin booting anyone from the bottom half off the screen. They're happy to hang backstage and let somebody else up if you send $10 in on the dono. All right, gentlemen. God, it is always men up here. Welcome. For
Man,
those of
strong.
You do politics online. This is essentially
I
Real
know,
Housewives of
I
Atlanta,
know.
but for men.
Well, I'm actually grateful. Next Monday, we've got guaranteed two ladies on panel, so I won't feel so left out. But gentlemen, welcome back to Mater Nation. And for those of you who are new, welcome in. The rules for the Q&A portion is we are going to be respectful, have the conversation. You're going to ask your question. We're going to go one at a time. So that means everyone else on the bottom row is going to mute up. It looks like they already are. Thank you so kindly. If you already know, you know. We're going to go one round at a time, person to person. Get your questions in to any one of the panelists on screen. Any of the panelists from the debate, you may all interject into the question. So we'll get through this, and then once we move into full gauntlet mode, which the chat has earned itself a gauntlet mode, then we will move into full open floor, and we can have a little more fun. It gets more degenerate as we move along. All right, backstage first, I had Clay, actually. Somehow I switched you guys around. I apologize. Clay, if you'd like to kick us off with your question to the panelists, please.
Sure. Yeah, I really enjoyed the debate. It was actually pretty good. Appreciate Bones. He actually did really good compared to what I've seen in the past, especially for debate forum. Thank you, sir. Really appreciated that. But I wanted to challenge Fabian quickly on something he just said. You said that, I mean, I guess you must put a high value on property, extremely high value on property. You said that, if somebody's attempting to steal your property, you should be able to essentially unalive them, piss on the grave, post it all over social media and laugh. I'm trying to understand how you can square that, because let's say it's a kid who steals a candy bar and you own a store. You should be able to do that.
Okay, yeah. Children are different. I will there is a article you can read by Ian Hersing. It's a rational theory of the rights of children, right? So I would treat children the same way that you would treat mentally deficient, right? Which is to say that they need a guardian appointed to them, and that guardian takes responsibility for the things that the child does. Okay. So if you have like a child trying to steal something or something like that, also, obviously I'm being pithy when I respond, but there is another theory within libertarianism, which is essentially like the gentleness principle, right? So like if I'm on my front yard, right, and then like a grandma with a walker falls onto my property, right? Do I have the right to just be like, and anyways, I started blasting? It's like, no, like that's crazy, right? But what you do though is, there is a certain reasonable position where you have to escalate the situation, which is get off of my property. Or, if you're not a piece of shit, you're like, oh my God, grandma, are you okay? Like you fell down. Like,
right. Can
I help you? Right. But eventually you have to be like, okay, get off my property. And then when they're like, no, I refuse to get off of your property. I refuse to do these things. Or they continue like a continuation of an aggressive crime, right? Which is like they're vandalizing your vehicle, right? There's going to be context dependent things that'll be adjudicated because ethics, insofar as I see them, are required in a different way than, let's say, morality, because ethics is a rule system with an observer, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually 3 people. For ethics to occur, you have to have 3 people. And so there is a certain amount of reasonableness to the adjudicator that views the situation. But if someone is like looting or Molotov cocktailing your house, yeah, blast them. Like you should be able to blast them.
So there's degrees, right? So there's degrees. And would it be simpler just to simply, at least have some type of guidelines maybe written? Would that be an easier way to constitute a decent respect to what is and isn't appropriate?
There's a difference. Yeah. So there's a difference between what is rights versus what is governance. And many people misconfuse, anarchism because there's so many retarded ass anarchists that haven't done their homework, right? And so governance is a necessary element to an ordered society that has a large amount of people, right? And so, you know, if you're living in a community, then there's going to be a set of shared principles that you hopefully voluntarily associate with. And under that, for the ease of not turning every interaction into this like long adjudicated process, you're going to have some system of rules that everybody in that community agrees to. The difference is whether or not those rules are imposed upon you involuntarily, whether or not they're imposed upon you via an association that you choose with those people. So if I go live on some
So you're not
commune,
a complete psycho. You're not a complete
right?
psycho.
Like,
I just wanted to make
if
sure.
If I go live in a commune, that commune is going to have rules that are very left wing.
There are rules,
very
exactly.
democratic or whatever, right? The difference is, do I have the right to my property? Do I have, do I have the right to freedom of association?
Yeah.
And do I have the right to leave that little community and go to an Amish community that has a totally different set of standards and rules that they adhere to?
And the hope is that the governance backs that. But anyway, no, I just wanted to challenge your belief a little bit. And before I pass it on, I just wanted to show you guys, I captured all of these.
Why is it so yellow?
Oh, because they're full of piss and vinegar.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. This J6 talk is just having them they're weeping and they hate that the pardons happened.
Fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Clay. And I do actually want to echo what Clay said when he first joined and said that this was a really great panel. And I wanted to give you guys that credit as well, because I find it more productive when we are able to get through the discussion without yelling and name calling and all those things. And I thank all of you for having a wonderful debate together, even with tech issues too. Spin, would you like to ask a question, or are you passing on this one? You're passing on this one. Okay, fair enough. Rinyal, to you, sir.
Hey, am I audible? Can you hear me, everything?
Yep, we got you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there was a couple parts in this debate. I was pretty triggered throughout a lot of it. So I think those tears might just be from me. When we say that the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys didn't have an intention to overthrow the government, it just kind of speaks to not really knowing much about the case, right? So when Stuart Rhodes says in the group chat for the Oath Keepers, we must do now what the people of Serbia did when Milosevic stole their election, refused to accept it, march en masse onto the nation's capital, right? I feel like that's a very clear call for some sort of revolution, right? When Enrique Tarrio says the media constantly accuses us of wanting to start a civil war, careful what the fuck you ask for. We don't want to start one, but we sure as fuck will finish one. And then they circulate the 1776 returns memo illustrating the Proud Boys occupying all of the buildings in the Capitol in order to stop the certification of the election, which, 1776 was our insurrection, right? So I don't know what else the 1776 part of that memo name would even be referring to. So like, we agree, like if all of those statements are true, their intention almost certainly was to overthrow the government, right? Or at least to insurrect against the government.
Like you just, I disagree, but maybe we can pull this apart a little bit, right? Because from my perspective, both of those statements show that even in internal communications, they believe that the election was stolen and that the government has stolen the right of an election from them themselves. And they reaffirm, even in their internal kind of like LARPing talk, that they don't want to start a civil war and that they want free and fair elections. Now, I totally understand
if that's the case.
So how is that?
If that's the case,
so
the
how
route
is
is to
that
do an
them-
insurrection.
I'm sorry?
If that's the case, if they're saying like we want the United States to exist as it was, but right now it doesn't exist that way, so we have to overthrow it in order to, reinstate its glory or whatever, that's still trying to overthrow the government, no?
No.
I disagree, because at no point did you say we need to overthrow the government and coup it and put our own people in charge. What they said was displace
Well, the goal is to get Trump in
anger
charge, right?
at their belief is that Trump, right? Like, I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but when you say they want to, maybe you mean overthrow the government in a practical or literal sense, right? And maybe I'm viewing it from a perspective of what it is that they believe and in their intentions, right? And so maybe we're discussing mens rea versus actus reus, right? Like, in my mind, mens rea does not exist here because they believe the election is stolen and they believe that they need to fix this broken thing that has denied them their rights. And you're focusing very much on the actus reus, the guilty crime.
Yeah, if that's the case, then like we can talk about the mens rea, because I could talk about, you know, the merits of on which they wanted to, you know, steal back the election. But even if that's the case, the argument is that they were trying to steal or like overturn the government. They were trying to unsit the
You
current
haven't
acting,
presented any
or, you know,
evidence
the
of
to
that.
be certified. Well, how not?
Because you
Invoking a
what you have
revolution.
shown is communications
we need to
that
do
they
a
believe
revolution.
their election is stolen and that they need to fix this, right? Like at no point in time does this say, I don't care about investigations. I don't care about litigation. The only thing I'm going to do is use my guns and overthrow the American government with like a couple thousand people in a building because, you know, what is the army? It's nothing compared to my 10,000 people. It's very, very clear that their goal, even internally, is not to overthrow the U.S. government and take it over by force, but rather to go in and force some sort of reconciliation or investigation. I'm not saying it's a good plan. I'm not saying that it was super well thought out
by force in order to do that. Wouldn't that be part of it? Like I'm
I
wanting
think their fantasy, right?
Trump. I'm wanting to
I think
install
their
Donald Trump, so I
fantasy,
invade and I exercise by force over the government, right? Like I'm trying to
I think their
overturn what is happening with
fantasy.
the government right now, and I'm trying to put in my leader, right? How is this not overthrowing the
No,
government?
I don't think they're trying to put in their leader. I think their fantasy is that they were going to go there. They were going to show this work of force. And then when they showed this force, it was going to change the hearts and minds of the vice president to be like, maybe we don't certify this right now until an appropriate investigation goes through. And then we get some level of investigation that occurs, and then they find all of this voter fraud quickly and easily, and they prove what they know in their hearts to be true, which is that Donald Trump won this election in a landslide. I'm not saying these are smart people. I'm not saying these are geniuses that we're dealing with, right? I don't even know to what I mean, like fucking Enrico Tarrio was a former fucking federal informant and is like half retarded and missing a chromosome himself anyways. But I think in order to have this idea that the entire, especially once we broaden this out from these few people that were charged into the greater kind of conservative movement or MAGA movement or these people, I think they're operating from a belief that their election was stolen and a belief that the state railroaded their ability to be able to prove that, and that the state made it very easy for them to cover up their crimes. Now, whether or not you believe that is irrelevant to whether or not the entire system of U.S. governance under the Constitution is built upon a presumption that the people allow it to continue. Because if everyone wakes up tomorrow and says, I don't believe in the Constitution or the government's over. There is a social construct, and it requires a certain level of trust between the people and the institutions, and that these people were fighting back against what they perceived was an abandonment of that trust.
Well, our government exists under the process of the consent of the governed. And if the governed does not feel like they have given consent because they feel that something fraudulent was happening,
you overthrow it. That's the answer.
I feel like the government is trying to get a key word victory.
Yeah, you're really trying to force something without actually putting some thought into it.
You just want to reframe this very clear attempt to overthrow the government as not overthrowing the government,
it is
but
not
righting a wrong by
government.
Overthrowing the government. Like I agree that we're talking about actus reus and mens rea. But mens rea here is not relevant, right? I do have another question. I don't know how much time I have for this allotted thing.
Briefly, go ahead.
A lot of the claims of election fraud that you were bringing up, by the way, are laughable, and all of the people who were involved in propagating them literally admitted to lying. Like the pipes bursting thing, like literally all of that is caught on security camera. We have recordings of the State Farm Arena the entire day where they were counting the ballots. Nothing nefarious was found at all. Nothing at all. The overtime ballots is just because, like, believe it or not, when you constantly say mail-in voting is rigged, mail-in voting is rigged, mail-in voting is rigged, and it takes longer to count mail-in ballots, Republicans aren't going to vote by mail-in ballots. So naturally, all of the overtime ballots are going to come in favor of Democrats, right? A lot of the, like, it feels like...
Can I address that?
Yeah, sure.
So I agree with literally everything that you just said, but it's not relevant to the debate that we're having. I agree. So let's go by them, like the claims that I was talking about, because because it's very important that I am in putting in place the feeling. Like many of these things by 2026 have been adjudicated to some degree. Some maybe not as rigorously as I would prefer, right? But, you know, I would also prefer we not waste tax dollars and the politicians just fucking step down. You know, your dreams don't come true. Nevertheless, right, let's look at mail-in ballots. You're 100% right. Mail-in ballots have consistently since then been incredibly pro-Democrat. We saw it in the recent election here in Virginia, in the snap election to turn Virginia into like a 10 Democrat seat, 1 Republican seat, right? Most of the mail-in ballots that come in are Democrat. Why? Well, there's a lot of reasons. I think maybe you're being a little disingenuous, right? But maybe not, right? Which is Republicans are overwhelmingly vote on election day, right? Republicans tend to be they're conservative by the virtue of the fact that they're there. So they have this like, no, I don't want to do something in the mail. I want to do it in person. I want to meet a person's hand, right? It was always going to swing Democrat, even without any interference from Republicans constantly saying that mail-in ballots are a scam. That being said, there's also another factor, right? Which is, you know, you do have ballot harvesting with mail-in ballots. And I don't necessarily mean that you have like some Democratic operative going to like a place where everyone has brain injuries and collecting 20 ballots, right? That does happen, but that's an incredibly small amount of what occurs, right? Like, but what you do have is you do have family members that are like, you know, some kid that wasn't going to vote and wasn't going to show up to vote day. The mom pressures them into voting. And now they're, instead of having a private kind of just you in the poll, you have this family pressure that occurs that I think does swing towards Democrat and is a little bit coercive to a certain degree. But to what degree is that important? 0.2%, right? When you win an election, you know, 53 to 47, that doesn't really matter, does it? Right? In terms of like the pipe bursting, I think it's a little bit of both. Right, we do have video now, and I think we had video right before January 6th. I'd have to go look at the timeline.
We had the video almost immediately. The state investigator released the
but
video.
But we do know that observers were asked to leave, and that was not okay. But we do have video, right? So we can kind of observe it, and we saw them pulling boxes from weird places. But it turns out that was just where they were throwing the boxes in between, or maybe it wasn't. Even still, the ones that they counted there still weren't going to get us into the 13,000 votes, right? Like, I think it is likely that because of just the simple nature of mail-in ballots, because lazy people that tend to often more vote Democrat than Republican are now voting in higher margins, and because of other influences, and because of Donald Trump fucking shit up in COVID that he probably lost. That's not what's important. What's important is when we are talking about people's right to protest and address grievances, we're talking about the railroading nature that the state did in this election, whilst gaslighting the American public that this was the freest and fairest election that ever existed, and then denying them their SCOTUS cases. And then when they go and they try and fucking do what they think is right to do this, we then get warrantless fucking searches of people's data, violations of their constitutional rights, and heavy-handed prosecution, and that we should fear that because it's going to happen to you, Renyald. It's going to happen to leftists, and it is happening to leftists right fucking now because we set a precedent.
We're loading so many of these terms, right? Like even that Supreme Court thing, like Texas v. Pennsylvania is so laughable on its face because they couldn't find somebody withstanding in Pennsylvania to bring a case. Why don't you think they could find somebody withstanding to bring a case in Pennsylvania? Why did they have to find somebody from Texas?
Well, no, they believe their lawyers believe they had standing because they believe that they were pursuant to the outcome of the election. So they believe that they in Texas had standing. This is like the same thing with the Cherokee Nation, right? Where they didn't have standing with the Supreme Court, and then they went back after they found someone at a post office, right? Like, but the fact of the matter is that, you know, they believed that they did. Was that a mistake they made? Sure,
we know that's not the case. We know they don't think that they had the standing because Eastman was coming out and telling people in the Trump administration that these cases were being done as a predicate to justify the electors. These weren't cases being pursued in good faith.
Renyald, I got to ask you this.
It's lawful. A lot of that
last round with Jason, and then we'll move on.
What is the original purpose of the Supreme Court of the United States? What was it designed to do?
What, to have supreme jurisdiction or to have ultimate jurisdiction?
No. What was it designed to do? What is it stated in the Constitution that its primary job is to do?
It has the judicial power. I don't know what.
Okay, you need to read the Constitution. It's to resolve differences between states. They failed to do their job. They were fucking cowards. You don't have to agree. You don't have to agree. But look, your opinion doesn't count anyway because the first thing you said is, "I was triggered."
Do you
Look,
understand
Fair
that
enough.
Pennsylvania,
Let's
Pennsylvania
leave
has
it
the right to
there.
run their
Put a
elections?
pin. Put a pin in it. Let's leave it there. We can always take this to the gauntlet to continue.
That's
Noah,
in the
welcome, my
Constitution too. Yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
Ringeld a little bit, but
Noah, welcome, my friend. My first question to you is, how did you find us, Noah? Oh, you're muted.
muted.
Oh,
Muted.
Noah, you're muted on your end. Hardware muted, I believe.
He's still on the talk of
Your
tech.
mic-
Sorry.
Your mic.
It's your mic has
it's
a
not
probably
coming
has a
through on your
button.
mic.
StreamYards isn't picking up your mic. It's not. It doesn't have the right mic input.
Yeah, go to the cog. Go to
Yeah,
cog,
shit,
check
indeed.
audio.
You've got it muted somewhere, or you've given it permissions to TikTok, and
Yeah.
it's doesn't have permissions on here.
China.
We don't
Noah,
like
do you
TikTok.
have a button on your
No,
microphone?
China doesn't own TikTok
Oh,
anymore.
you're right, you're
okay,
right.
it's owned by Oracle,
Can everyone else
CIA
stop
individual.
talking so that I can
Is
work
this
with him
working?
on his? Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, it's going through my phone. So let's see if it works. I heard about this through Bones saying, or Ringeld saying it in our group chat when I said I was bored and I needed something to do.
Fair enough. Fair
Nice.
enough.
So
Hell yeah.
Thank
No,
you, Rinald,
awesome.
for.
thank
All
you,
right,
Ringeld.
Noah,
Thank you,
to
Bones.
you.
Thank you, Lucas. First thing, just something I noticed that was very interesting when Ringeld asked about overthrowing the government. It was very interesting that Fabian's answer was just a justification for overthrowing the government. So
He doesn't believe in
didn't
the state,
necessarily-
so that makes sense. It's on brand for him.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
let him
overthrow
ask.
the government. I'm for it.
So
Let's let him ask his
it was
question.
He's an
very
ANCAP.
obvious that J6 was an attempt to overthrow the government, but that's neither here nor there. The main question, it's going to be really fast because I know people like to talk for a long time. It's a one-word answer. It's going to be a yes or a no, just like Pisco does. This is to Jason and Fabian, did Biden win the 2020 election?
First of all, you're not going to tell me how to answer, so I will answer as many words as I want to. Why? Because
Okay,
fuck
well,
you, that's
bro.
why.
Wow,
bro.
look at
So,
you.
so here's the deal. Did Biden win? He was certified. So it really doesn't
That's
matter
not what I
who
asked. I
won.
asked, did he win?
I know.
It's a yes
I
or
know
no
what you
question.
asked. So here's the deal. I don't
And you
have
can't
to.
answer it.
No, see, I don't have to answer what you
I wonder,
want.
can Fabian answer the
Because
question?
I don't
Does Fabian
bend the
have the
knee.
balls on him, which Jason doesn't have? Does Fabian have the balls?
It's not a matter of balls. It's just a matter of do I have the integrity to answer honestly?
Sure.
And the honest answer is probably. I just don't know.
Ah, god damn it. So close. You were so close to having the balls. You were so close. Obviously, he was certified. It's because he won. It was adjudicated that he won. Trump lost 64 times in court. I know you don't believe in courts, so it's a little hard to argue law against someone who doesn't believe in the law.
He did lose
But
60.
Oh, no, I believe in
He
law.
lost
Biden-
once.
I believe in
lost
law. I
once.
just believe in natural law, right?
Yeah.
Like not parroting the state's
Constitutional law.
talking points, right?
Constitutional law.
He doesn't really believe in the Constitution. He's a stateless type
There's
person.
there's a there's
I
a
know,
great
it's very anti-American,
He's an
but it's okay.
anarcho-communist.
We're not talking
No,
about
I'm
that.
super pro-American. There's a great article that you can read by Lysander Spooner, who was a Civil War veteran, and called "The Constitution of No Authority." Check it out.
Okay, I think if you go against all the values that are American, you are both anti-American and un-American.
What are the
I don't go
American
against the values that are American.
I consider the Constitution to be American values, and if you are anti-Constitution,
How is the
you are
Constitution a
definitely-
value? That's not a value. That's not what
The
values are.
Constitution's a founding
It's a
document.
document.
It's not a value.
So I'll
Adhering
explain.
to the
I
founding
believe.
document, I would consider
I
to
believe-
be a value.
I
yes.
believe. Listen, I believe that the founding fathers discovered the evil of democracy, and they wrote about this constantly. That democracy was
Okay.
indeed an evil, and they tried to create something that was less authoritarian than were monarchies, and tried to balance all of the evil natures of all of the different forms of government via Enlightenment principles. Right? They created a
Sure.
Senate to have the oligarchy in charge because they knew that the people and democracy would cause problems if you gave the people too much power because people are retarded and they don't know what they're doing. So, but they also give
Especially
them
black people
a
back
branch
then.
of the government. So you
And
said
women.
especially black people?
Well, no, I was saying back then when the framers of the Constitution were thinking of this, they also did not consider black people or women to really be good arbiters of ideas or opinions. But
No, I
You
mean,
were
I think generally speaking, obviously, black people are less intelligent than white Europeans, and I think
Oof.
women tend to be
Okay.
less grounded in reality than do
We
men
can do a race
because of the
realist debate
nature.
if you want.
Yeah, but I mean, but that doesn't mean that there aren't smart black people. They're fucking everywhere, right? Like, nevertheless,
That's a
I
lot
don't
to
think
get
that's
into.
smart.
yeah. Like, I do think that is why was you accused me at the beginning of like being unable to bite bullets because I wouldn't give you a yes or no. So I don't want to run from any of those things. I want you to know that I'm being completely genuine. Now, in terms of why I believe that I do that my thoughts are American and that they are in the vein of American values and ideals, is that I believe that my thoughts are the logical conclusions of the founding fathers taken further. Right. I think, when Thomas Jefferson was writing the Declaration of Independence, he wrote, life, liberty, and property, not life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But one of his presumed fears was that the usage of the term property might instantiate slavery longer than they wanted it to be, which is a supreme contradiction from a man that owned slaves, yet also fought for the right to free his slaves, but couldn't because of many of his debts, and at the same time was somewhat anti-slavery. They were full of contradiction, and they were full of a lot of problems and flaws. I think my values are an extension of those American values as opposed to a retraction from those American values. And I think we as a nation, with the establishment of the Federal Reserve and the increase in taxes and the restrictions on our liberties and the growth of the state, has been moving backwards away from where the founding fathers put us forward, as opposed to forward towards liberty and equality, and true equality, not equity, and the pursuit of man's needs. And so that is why I believe that my ideology is super American.
I wonder if, Jason, if you think like also someone who is anti-Constitution, it could also be pro-American and American values, someone who doesn't believe in the Constitution. I wonder if that's Jason's take as well.
Do you have to believe in something as orthodoxic? Because I happen to know that my man Scott is a fellow veteran. He swore to uphold and defend the Constitution, a document in which he doesn't fully believe in. I believe that's
my
quite
contract's
American.
over.
Yeah,
4 years after.
That wasn't exactly what I asked, right?
Well,
I asked, is it un-American to not believe in the Constitution?
No.
Is it against American values?
No, I don't think the Constitution is American values. I think it is a framework of how the government should be ran. And if you actually read the Constitution, you'd realize that our federal government runs nothing like what is listed in those.
Well, obviously, it's not running like that now because we.
No, it never has in my life or your life, sir. So
my life hasn't been as long as yours, obviously. But
yes. So you should probably read the Constitution and get disgusted with how
I understood it much better than you did. I'm sure. Maybe not Fabian,
really
but I definitely understood it better than you did.
Let's go ahead and move on. Thank you, Noah. I appreciate you being here. We'd love to definitely get you back on some more panels here. Vibe, welcome back, my friend. Your question to the panelists.
Yeah, I do want to give a little appreciation to Noah, our new panel.
Up, you're muted, Bob.
Muted.
Did you hit something?
I hit the space button. Yeah, I saw that. I accidentally hit the space button. And by the way, great come in, commanding, powerful. But I do want to say you didn't personally count the votes. Neither did I, neither did Scott, neither did Jason. And their answers were perfectly acceptable when they said they accepted them, but they can't back them up, right? So that's just a statement there. Like, and you can't either. None of us can, but we all accept.
I actually
now,
personally counted every single vote.
Yeah,
I doubt you count.
I know
you were with him as he did it.
Yeah,
right.
I was literally there.
The passion, and that was awesome. I just wanted to make a comment on that. That I don't think their answers were disingenuous, right? But this is actually kind of what January 6th is about. And I am, and just for full disclosure, I voted for Trump, even on this term. Would I have a beer with him? Probably not. So he is my candidate of choice, but not my favorite person in the world. Now, when it comes to January 6th, I have a Fabian view or Scott view of this, kind of like if somebody's in your front yard and they're being annoying, you got to get them out of your front yard. I kind of feel it doesn't matter whether it's the left or right. January 6th was somebody coming in to the Capitol. I don't care if you're running in with a flag. I don't care if you're running in with a gun. I don't care if you're one person. I don't care if you're 2,000 people. That is not tolerated in our government. It is never tolerated in our government, and it should be considered a terrorist act. I find it inexcusable that Trump actually pardoned 1,500 people. So I don't know who I'm addressing here, because I'm actually like half on one side and half on the other side. I find it completely inexcusable, because I think if one person runs in the Capitol, and by the way, we all know 100%, if you storm the Capitol and you take over the Capitol, you did not take over the United States. It's a losing battle. I think Fabian said it like, you must have a brain cell missing to think that if you take over the Capitol, you're going to take over, you're going to overthrow the government. That's never going to happen.
Yeah,
right. So I'm just curious on your guys' thoughts on that. Like, so I don't think it's excusable for the left to run with one person with a flag. I don't think it's right for the right to run with one flag. I don't think any run at the Capitol because you don't agree. I think you can protest. I think you can put a flag up. I think you can say, I don't like it, but I don't think there's ever anything acceptable on storming the Capitol 100%, regardless of what your views are or anything. That is our government, whether you agree with it or not. It's a terrorist act. I think everybody should have been prosecuted. I think they all should have gone to jail. I don't care if you're left or right. Done.
I disagree with you. I believe in people's right to protest, and honestly, you can't tell me what is a legitimate or illegitimate form of protest. As far as when you look at the history of America, well, I heard you do it. I just reject your notions, because if you look at the history of America, we are filled with rebellions. In fact, in 2020, and I know this is a whataboutism, but there was actual 3 different areas in America that were considered that was allowed to be considered autonomous, free of the government's reign and authority, because we're pitching hissy fits. We see the same thing happening today. We just don't see it at the grand scale. We don't see that they are threatening the politicians. The only reason why January 6th was a big deal, in my opinion, is because the politicians actually felt threatened for once. I think it is actually a good thing and a healthy thing for politicians to have a little fear of their constituency, because right now there is no accountability in our political class.
So when you say there's no accountability, like the oversight, the government, like Trump right now, right? I'm supporting Trump, and he has tons of oversight. Everybody's suing him. Everybody's like doing all these laws, and like everybody's like, you do not see that that's not like actually a process that's working.
A lot of it is show. A lot of it is more political persecution. And I can say things that are happening on the, towards the left that can also be considered forms of political persecution. Honestly, there is no real oversight, because I don't believe there's any honesty in American politics today.
I'll say this. I understand where both of you are coming from on this, and I'll take the middle path, which is the most reasonable path, which is obviously there's some level of accountability. Accountability is everyone faces some level of accountability. It's not about whether or not accountability is being seen. It's whether or not other people perceive that accountability to be a full accounting, right? Like, if I'm an asshole to everyone that I meet, and some people treat me not so nice, that's some level of accountability, but that doesn't mean that I've gotten my just desserts. It just means I've faced some level of accountability. And so I think the same thing is true within our government, right? Sometimes people lose their power. Sometimes people have to pay little fines, right? But then, we know that there's, somewhere between 100, or let's say 20. There's somewhere between 20 to a few thousand elite pedophiles that were raping children. Where's the accountability? You know what I mean? I think it's kind of silly to be like, yes, of course we have accountability in our government, right? And I don't think you mean it like that. I think maybe you would prefer to see more of it. But either way, there's not been a just accounting for all of the crimes that so many of these people have committed against either individuals or, obviously from a more anarchic
Well, let's talk about that, right? So
against,
here's the crime.
war crimes
Here's
and
the
things like that.
here's the crime.
Mhm.
As I'm saying, if you storm our capital, we know that if you storm it and take it, we're not going to lose our government, right? There's not going to be a change.
Where's
That's
the
just
crime?
an idiot thought. But at the same time, I do think that's a terrorist act. Now, that Trump actually, and I can't believe this because I'm on the right. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm going to sound leftist here. But now that Trump,
No, you're just going to sound like a liberal, which you probably are.
1,500 people. Now, if a liberal wins, or if the next time the
liberal did
Democrat
win.
wins, if next time the Democrat or Republican wins, then all of a sudden we have now accounted that if the liberal wins, he can pardon all of them, right? So now we're just basically opening the door that everybody can storm the Capitol every time they disagree. Now, I do agree. Jason said this. We should have the right to protest. We should have the right to do all these things. I agree 100% all over the fucking nation. Just don't touch our fucking Capitol. That is a freaking terrorist act. And that's my
That's your
opinion.
sacred cow.
Okay, so
understand that.
yeah, I got two things to this. Two problems that I see with this. One is the very nerdy one, right? The nerdy one is I don't see any destruction of public property or any attack against public property as a crime, because public property in and of itself is a violation of human rights. The existence of the Capitol is a violation of human rights because it's a violation of private property. Because private property means that there is only one just user or owner of property. And when you democratize property, what you are saying is that there are multiple owners. You keep calling it our building, right? But that's a contradiction because you don't have exclusive control. So it's not really your building. It's a building that is imposed upon you, where taxes are imposed upon you. Theft of your actual property is imposed upon you to pay for something that you don't actually control. Rather, you have a semblance of control based upon an election, which, mind you, the entire January 6th thing is a questioning the legitimacy of even those elections in and of itself. But even still, if 51% choose for the property to be used one way and 49% choose for the property to be used the other way, then what you have is you have tyranny of the majority. You have 49% of people being told it's your property, but you don't get to do what you want to do with it. Oh, and also we're going to steal your money so that we can do with the property what we want because you're the 49% loser. It's a contradiction in terms. You cannot do anything wrong to public property. You can only do something wrong to private property and to people's, right? Those are things that are owned.
And
The
let's
second-
go ahead. Oh, sorry, Fabian. I thought you were done. My apologies.
Yeah, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm talking about
Yes, go ahead. We'll wrap up with you and then we'll move to Ben.
No, I'll just leave it at the nerdy answer. That's fine.
All right. And Mr. Balderson, last but certainly never least, would you like to ask your question, sir?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the most disturbing thing through the whole debate was Sarah defending Subway and then actually referring to it as food. I don't know what to say about that part.
Yeah. I wanted to
that-
push back really hard, but it wasn't the topic of the panel. So
Don't get
I
in-
thought
in
more
front of me
diversions
and
would have been
True.
worse.
Don't get in the
Subway
way.
is so bad. Subway
It's
is
not
so bad that when they
food,
went to
Sarah.
Ireland, the Irish government required them, because of the way that their bread is made, to classify it as cake because of the
Yeah, because
sugar
it was too
content in their
sweet.
bread.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
It's not even legally bread in Ireland because of how shit it is. Not to mention the glyphosates and folic acid and all the other bullshit that they're adding to this so-called food.
I hate you so much, Ben. All of that,
If-
and that's what you
if
got
there's-
from it.
If there's anything we can unite the panel on, it's that Subway objectively sucks.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Subway is the best.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can
What?
condemn, by the way.
Nah.
Me and Spin City, the smartest person on this panel, agree that Subway's good.
Yeah,
No.
you're in with Spin on this one. That's bad company.
Yeah,
But-
the best company.
If these gentlemen that folks that were went to the Capitol to make their disagreements known, which any reasonable person actually would see why they had a problem. The statistical anomaly in that election was insane. Like in Vegas, they would have taken you into a back room and busted your hands for that shit. Again, So assuming they believed that, and that they were going to try and stop the what they would have called the cheat, would you not assume stop the steal? Would you not assume then, though, when the steal went through, that anytime somebody's tried to throw, whether you would consider it a coup or something fighting against the government, that they're absolutely not going to see the light of day? And again, they're just lucky that somehow one of the only times in the world the guy that was in power went out of power and came back into power. That does not happen often, and they just got fucking lucky, or else they weren't going to see the light of day again. Would you not assume that they should have expected that?
Expected what exactly?
Look,
The insurrection part?
In prison forever.
No, they
well, none of
absolutely
them. Well, none of them went into prison forever.
Right. Well, because
it's
they
also not
got
something that
lucky
would be
and Trump
expected.
came back into power. I explained that.
No. The largest sentence that was brought out in that entire thing was against Enrique Tarrio, and that's because he was one of the main conspirators with the Proud Boys, and that was 22 years.
But
and that was
that
was spread across 10 charges, by the way. Most people only saw maybe upwards maybe 1 to 2 years. No, I wouldn't expect all of these people to get charged or sit in jail forever. No, that's not true at all.
Well, so there are ways to actually expand a conviction, and it can be done quite easily with just simply COs making claims of things that happened and adjudicating.
I was enjoying.
And you think this happened?
I was enjoying Bones having a Leave It to Beaver moment with Vibe down here.
I don't say that this did happen to J6ers. I said it could happen, and it has happened to other prisoners in the past. The deal is, if you take a shot at the king, you better not miss.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, what is it?
Panel again.
Cold Force, old Cold Force himself. The friendly federal assassin. He's about to find out why you better not miss. Just like the Ukrainian freak that tried to shoot Trump at the Mar-a-Lago freaking golf course.
He wasn't Ukrainian.
Well, he's a Ukrainian freak. He was one of those everything for Ukraine types.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that guy will never see the light of day. He never will. Yes, he was only sentenced for 25 years, but he will not survive his incarceration, nor do I think Cold Force will either. If you're going to take a shot at the king, you bet not miss.
I disagree. I actually disagree. I think you're giving people way too much credit, right? I think overwhelmingly when we look at studies from criminology and things of that nature, right? There's usually a sweet spot around 15 to 20 years where beyond a certain point, there literally is no additional deterrence towards crime. And this is one of the reasons why Canada, for example, has limited sentences even for things like murder, right? Because the research pretty clearly shows that there's no difference between life in prison and 20 years in prison.
Yeah.
The difference is whether or not you think you're going to get caught. And I think especially when you were talking about the fervor of politics and protests and mob psychology, I think a lot of the people there were probably just, in the moment doing really dumb shit. And then I think amongst the people that were, the Proud Boys, the militia people, things of that nature, I think they have a fantasy, a fantasy of being political prisoners. I think they have a fantasy of being a martyr. And that they probably would expect that, and probably to a greater degree than they actually would have gotten. Because they like the idea of, I think men especially have this aspirational goal
Sacrifice
of
for a
achieving
better
or putting your name somewhere, or of having some level of infamy, especially if it's martyr to a good cause, or even maybe even sometimes a bad cause. Even by their own admission. So I think,
Scott, we've got the Michigan militia and all these people that are doing these things. I'm from Michigan, by the way, but in the end, right? Do you think storming the Capitol is a valid protest versus actually like I agree with First
Yeah,
Amendment
my opinion
rights.
is there's
I
no
agree
not a
with
reason to ask
certain
this.
things, but do
Actually-
you think like that type of thing is
I
actually
think killing
a
Donald
valid
Trump is a
protest?
valid form of protest.
Before we move along, because that was Ben's question. So Ben, were you kind of done with the back and forth there?
Sorry.
I had not been, but I'm gonna chew vibe up for this one. Leave it to Beaver. This
Well,
is some
hang
killer
tight,
shit.
everyone. I also want to, since I already went ahead and kicked it off, the gauntlet is officially open. If you are watching over on the Raging Tomato side, you can catch the raid over. If you already know where you're going, get there. Otherwise, I dropped the link into the chat. I'm shutting down everything else on my end. You can only find it on the gauntlet on my end. All right, Ben, I'll hand it back to you.
One moment. Since we're going over the gauntlet, I have got to go. Thank you so much for hosting me. Thanks, Bones. Thanks, Scott. Thank Benjamin, and of course, thanks, Sarah. Appreciate all the people that came on tonight. I am Jason, and if y'all need to get in touch with me, people know how to do that. I'll talk to y'all later. Take care. God bless.
Thank you so
Take
much,
care.
Jason. We appreciate you. Have a wonderful night.
Good to meet you, Jason.
All right,
I think that Fabian's a little nutty. Historically, people that take that shot at the king, they don't survive that. That's
I didn't say they do.
not well. Then I'm not sure what that.
I didn't
whole
say
tie-
one ought do it. I never said you should try and kill the president. I said,
now the
is
one
it a
thing-
valid form of protest? I think so. Yeah, it's also.
Oh no,
suicide.
that vibe. I guess. Oh, I'm with Vibe's crazy with this shit. I can't.
Go
I
on.
can't believe the crazy
How?
shit. I mean,
how
that
was
was
one
the
that said that.
California mentality right there. If I've ever heard it, like literally.
By the way, you're California
we were
too,
given
by the
the
way.
arms to take on.
Yeah, but
the
he's
government
like
when
on the bottom of
government
Murder
went back
Mountain. That's
on the line.
different, California, bro.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm
first
from
off,
Northern California. We are
I
entirely.
know you're Northern
different.
California, Benjamin, right? Like I came from Michigan, and I actually love the Michigan militia, and I love the idea of state militias because the original intent behind holding arms was that if we were unsatisfied with our government, the states could rise up against the government. Right? That was the original intent. Am I incorrect?
No, that's why we're.
No,
allowed-
and I
we're supposed to
love
also
that. I
have
love
equal
that. And
guns
I'm
for
with
them.
you on that. However, if we look at all the state militias that still exist in today's society, could any state militia ever overthrow the government
100%.
in reality today?
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously.
You think a state
Especially
militia?
if enough of them banded together. The U.S. military isn't very big, bro. It's only about 2.2
It's not
million.
that big, but so I mean, I've seen this too, and I've worked this through in my mind. Potentially, especially with Trump, like Trump could actually, like when everybody's like no kings, could potentially, because he's got the middle America thing, where it's like, hey, we don't like what things are going. I want to do this. He could actually turn the military against itself and actually start everything right. Like we can do this, but I don't think an individual state militia. Maybe if we brought Texas and all those guys together, I don't think any state militia can overcome the firepower. And by the way, I wish we could. So I am actually on your guys' side. I wish we could have F-14s and nuclear weapons and have all the same armament.
Do you
of
think that the
federal
government could nuke its own country and
No, I
survive
don't. But
that?
I mean, my point being
Well, then don't
is,
say silly shit, man.
but
And,
well,
and, and
that's
guess,
right.
what? Guess what we have
well,
going
hold
for us?
on.
Guess what we have going for us? We serve their food. We take out their trash. We watch their fucking kids. We fucking clean their toilets. That's
Is that
what
Fight
we have
Club?
going. And guess what?
So
And
wait.
F-16 don't mean shit when the guy fucking serving your food knocks you off, does it?
So Ben, like what you're not just fighting like the 2 million people there, you're also fighting like a really intricate logistics network. You're also fighting like their
You cut out,
intelligence,
Bones.
all the operations.
Bones, you cut out. What? Repeat yourself.
So-
please.
Okay, hold on.
You didn't miss anything
It was
fucking
you.
important.
It wasn't you, Bones. I think it was on.
Oh,
Beth. I
okay.
heard you.
Okay. So you're not just fighting like the people there. You're fighting like a really intricate comms network, the logistics. You're fighting like really well trained people in this case versus a militia, which is generally speaking not well trained. And are you saying the militias have like a
Dumbest shit I've
comparable
ever heard in
level
my
of
life.
like organizations the
served
United
in the
States
Army, Bones.
Army?
I
Are we
actually
crazy?
served in the Army. I've even got special fucking medals with all the stars and the reef around it and shit for how well I do at this. And guess what? They aren't fucking well trained.
They're not. They're really
They're
not.
fucking retarded. And guess what?
Right,
Militia
that's like a
militia
wild statement.
people,
Yeah,
your
sure.
average country ass shoots a gun 100 times more than any military person, and they're
Do
doing
you
it.
think it's just about shooting guns?
Shut your fucking mouth.
You think it's
And they're
literally just
doing
about
it
shooting
at
guns, Ben?
moving targets.
Let's let
They're
them have
doing
a
it at
moment.
moving targets
All
all
right, perfect.
the time.
So Ben, do you think that all the military does is just go pew pew? Like, is that what you think the like entire like power
I
comes from?
actually served in the military. I know what the fuck they do, and I know. And I know
Okay,
how well
okay,
they're
great.
trained.
So
And guess
so
what?
then you know that
If
they're
they go to
so that
war
you
with
know
our
then
country,
that it's
half
not just
of
like
them
their
are
ability to go
failing
pew pew. It's
immediately.
the fact that they know
Half
the
of them
lay
are
of the
failing
land.
immediately
They know
if they go
they
to war
know
with
they
the
have a
country.
great intel. They have
Why
great
do you
intel.
think
They've
they-
got
why
great
do you think the
communications
government
network.
relies on mercenaries now instead of fucking soldiers?
Oh,
half
because
the
they don't want to
soldiers will
endanger
fail.
the lives of the soldiers. Obviously, what
No,
do you
it's
mean?
not.
Like, America
It's-
is literally
it's the point of
polarized against putting
accountability, and
boots on the
because
ground
soldiers
abroad. What are you
have been
talking about?
abandoning
Are
their
you
posts
actually
for that
insane?
shit.
Like literally every like modern war has been considered pretty fucking unpopular by the American populace on the
Yeah.
basis that we're sending boots on the ground to foreign countries to go fucking
Well, I
die.
agree with
Are you
that.
insane? Do you think it's just because they're like untrained? This is wild.
What kind
I don't
of
know
dumb
why
shit
you'd
are
say
you
this.
saying? Make a fucking actual.
I don't know
fucking
why you'd
God,
speak so low of the army like this. This is crazy.
Because I served in it, dumb fuck.
Yeah, you served in it just based
I
off
got
that
to
you
see
think your
how the
opinion
army
is
works.
representative of the entire army. Like I feel like this is very like just you're trying to like get yourself or try
Have
to
you
get
ever
this
noticed
point
how the
that-
government works, dipshit? Have you ever fucking dealt with anything with the government? Are they capable?
Yes, absolutely.
Of doing anything
Whenever
with
I've gone to the DMV, whenever I've gone to go vote, whenever I've gone to like replace my
And it's
license
worked
plates,
out
and when I've
great
gone
for
to like
you?
update certain things. Yeah, no, it's been
And
pretty
that's
chill.
worked. It's been real efficient. They know what they're doing usually.
Actually, for me, yeah, pretty efficient.
All of us would like to know what magical bitch land you live in.
United States of America, actually Texas, funnily enough. I don't know. My courts seem to be pretty efficient. I mean, I could probably comment on other things that are a little bit more personal as well, but yeah, it's like that's not
None of
something
it's
I'd rather do.
efficient in any way, shape, or form. It's all fucking fucked up.
But yeah, look, the thing is, I don't weaponize like my own like lived experience for a debate. I use things that are a little bit like more useful.
There's all kind. Anytime the military does anything, it's all fucked up. That's what the fucking
anytime,
anytime, normal,
absolutely. You're
all
right. You're
fucked
so
up.
right.
Literally, situation normal, all fucked up, because that's the way they operate.
Really?
Yeah,
Really, I find that hard to believe just off of one experience there.
that's not one experience, dipshit.
I mean, look, I've
That's
had family
everybody's
members that were in
experience.
fucking Vietnam. I've had family members in Korea. Like, I don't know, man.
It's not this.
I
dumb
think
fuck
you're
experience. He ain't
framing
never
this as
fucking-
something
he ain't
that's
never
way
done a
less
damn thing
complicated
that's
than
ever
that.
been manly in his life.
Like the
we all know that.
there we go. There's
Anyone
the personal
else-
insults once
anyone
again. Once
else
he loses,
wanna-
he has to like resort to, you
No,
don't have a beard.
no,
Yeah,
that
that's
was
fine.
just the fun part. I didn't even
just-
bring
yeah,
up.
I-
the-
Well, yeah,
Oh, no, I have to
after
say
you
something.
lost.
Why in
Yeah,
the
I'll jump
fuck?
in.
Oh,
Why in the fuck would you even
You
say
actually
it
moved
is a
it to a
logical
different
form of
direction.
because you
protest?
can't answer for any of the stupid shit, so you moved it to a different direction and run your mouth like you always do. You
So
think
no,
making
I
a
didn't run into
fucking
I
word-
didn't run into anything
Make-
other than the
make
fact that the
fucking
army is
Hold on,
very
I think-
clearly more
Gentlemen,
organized than the fucking
Gentlemen,
militia.
gentlemen.
Yeah.
I think Spin wanted to chime in.
Oh, you're motherfucking right. I have been sitting here for almost 3 fucking hours being quiet, and it was very fucking hard. Very hard.
Oh, you poor thing.
Shut the fuck up, you fucking moron. Fabian, let me ask you something. Why do you think it would be, the best form of protest to try to unalive the president of the United States? First of all, fucking tell me that one.
I never said
Oh,
that.
boy.
I never said it would be
The
the
fuck
best.
you didn't.
No, I didn't. I never said it would be the
fuck
best.
You didn't.
I said it was.
He said it would be
legitimate form of
valid.
protest.
Oh, legitimate.
Yeah, he said it was
form of
legitimate or valid.
Oh, okay. So let's
Under
all
his
just
view.
go stand on Capitol Hill or in front of the White House and hope he comes out and protest with pew-pews. That's the most absurd thing I've ever fucking heard in my life. Secondly,
So no, he's just saying it's valid. He's not saying that it's like
fuck up.
good or
Nobody wants to hear your retarded
What is-
ass.
I don't know. I'm defending Fabian here for no
Yeah, I
reason
don't
other
get it
than
either,
just like
Bones.
here to
Why
tell
don't
you.
you
Right, dude, you're
this is
just-
the
you're
steal,
just-
man.
you're tweaking
would
out.
anyone like to hear from Fabian since he's the one that's
Oh, I would
All right, I'm
love
white
to
knighting
hear
for
his
him. Okay,
fucking
let me get
answer.
Fabian. I'm
No,
gonna give you
Bones
back the
doesn't.
box.
Bones wants
Okay,
to
I
defend
took
him,
it from
'cause
you.
Bones needs to defend him. 'Cause he's
Apparently,
a-
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Let me go ahead and,
So,
let
Fabian,
me go ahead and
I-
show you these
Fabian.
very quick. These are leftist
Can you stop talking about one another?
I'll spray
Go
some.
ahead. Go ahead, Fabian.
yeah. So yeah. No, I never said that it was a good idea. In fact, I actually said it was a bad idea. I don't. So there's a difference between what is a violation of. You good, Lone Wolf?
I'll mute her. I don't know if she knows.
Yeah.
she's-
So there's a difference between what is legitimate or what is not a violation of like non-aggression principle or what is technically ethical versus what is moral, right? And in moral, I would do a calculation of whether or not something is effective and whether or not something is in your own rational self-interest. I would say shooting the president is not in your own rational self-interest. Number one, you're going to go to jail forever or get killed. Number two, whatever movement you're a part of is just going to be branded as like psycho terrorists. Number three, you might actually usher in real fascism because all the fascists are going to be like, see, we told you this is how they are. We need to go further, right? Like you're not going to achieve any meaningful goals by assassinating the president. Now, if you ask me whether or not
you would apply that to the
unethical-
free
Hold on.
Palestine. You would apply that to the No Kings protest and all the other filth and the stupidity that people are doing out there, like throwing rubber dicks at cars, different things like that.
Yes. Throwing rubber
Shut
dicks
up,
at cars,
Effigy,
exactly
I'm
the
talking.
same. Exactly
It's
the same.
assassinating the
Going
president.
ahead. Total moral
Wait.
equivalency.
I feel like Spin City would think that Sean Dunn is like legitimately like fucking harming a police officer when he throws a shitty Subway sandwich. I mean, I think the officer
probably,
said that
probably
the
is.
sandwich was like
Fucking
literally
sandwiches
exploding.
alone.
So hold on.
Anybody that has to
Look,
touch a Subway sandwich is being legitimately harmed.
Wait, also, on top of that, in court, that officer argued that the Subway sandwich exploded on him, which, granted, the quality of the fucking sandwiches there, I think is probably trash.
Was there sriracha?
Probably
on it?
possible.
Hey, Sarah, I'm about
But I
to use
wanted
my
to-
credit to get rid of Boots of fucking Doom.
You can't
Shut
get rid
up
of
and
the
let
bits on the
people
sandwich.
So
can't-
I wanted to interject just for a moment if I could
but I
with
can't.
this
Hold
back
on,
and
Spin.
forth between Benjamin and Bones.
Go ahead.
Right?
Yeah.
Benjamin, I think you are utterly lacking couth and tact, but I think you're ultimately correct. And let me explain.
It's because I was talking to Bones.
You got triggered, but hear me out for a second. Number one, U.S. military is paradoxical. It's paradoxical in the sense that if you've ever been in the military, you know that everything is the exact opposite of a well-oiled machine. But the other thing about the military is that it has the power to tax. So no matter how inefficient it is, the insane and absurd amounts of money that can be deployed is something that no small group could ever even come close to. And a lot of times you'll go on missions and you'll be like, no one knows what they're doing. Everyone is retarded. And then it just kind of magically comes together because they have an SOP. They've run it a bunch of times. And it doesn't matter that it's inefficient because you can just kind of keep throwing inefficient workers at a thing until it's solved.
Well,
and
it's
so
just-
you are
it's
right.
It's just spray and pray. Like
Right.
you just
Bones
you
of
send
Doom,
enough
though,
fucking bullets. Eventually, you might get
Bones
something.
of Doom. Right. Bones of Doom. You are correct. But the problem is that there's this thing, and I don't know why the left seems to, not the left. I take that back. Communists get this. Marxists get this. But like the liberal left and like the slightly left of liberal, they have no concept of the way in which like warfare actually works in the modern age, or like asymmetrical warfare like in Vietnam and things like that. We lost Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
Why did we
Badly.
lose Vietnam? It's the same reason we lost in Afghanistan, right? And it's also the same reason that Alexander the Great lost in Afghanistan, right? Alexander the Great has like a couple of quotes about Afghanistan, like it's easy to march into, but hard to march out of, right? Another thing he says is that it's like, there are like three things you should fear, and it's like the fucking like a tiger or this, and like the rage of the Afghans. And the reason that this is important is that when you are talking about waging war on your own people, it becomes an entirely different scenario because you have two win conditions, okay? Win condition number one is total war, right? This was how the North. This is how the North eventually won the Civil War, right? In the Civil War, the Confederacy understood that all they needed to do was tire out the American voter in the North, and that eventually they would vote to end the war. That was the plan. And they also wanted European support, which is why Gettysburg occurred, right? Was that Robert E. Lee went north of D.C. and invaded, even though he really wanted to fight a defensive war, because he needed like a victory on their own territory in the hopes that the British might involve themselves and protect us in some way. Now, it turned out that General Winfield Scott was correct and that the Anaconda Plan needed to occur, right? And that this was going to be a long, long war of attrition. And despite the fact that the North had way more people, the North had way more industry, the North had way more of basically everything you need to win, with the exception of experienced cavalry. And towards the end of the war, they had way more of that as well. So how is it that they won the Civil War? Well, they won the Civil War in two ways. Number one, or I would say probably number two, would be Sherman's total war march, right? Psychological warfare, burn down every city you can, essentially a very Palestinian kind of thing, right? From the river to the sea. You went from Mississippi to the sea, right? And killed as many people and did horrific things to psychologically damage the South. That is a win condition that we can win. And the second one was the Battle of Cold Harbor, right? Lincoln was pissed because every single Northern general was losing to Robert E. Lee every single time, despite having more money, more troops, more supplies. They were losing over and over and over again because Robert E. Lee was a genius of military tactics, but he was also understood all of those generals, having served under them in the War of the Mexican-American War. Sorry, and so he had a knowledge of the psychology of the people. Grant gets brought in, and he is called the Butcher for a reason, because he comes in and again he is losing, and instead of retreating and doing his little thing, he sent body after body after body into Cold Harbor until eventually Robert E. Lee ran out of ammunition. Damn, I went on a soapbox and then he disappeared.
No, his screen froze. He'll be right back. He already messaged me.
Right. But to finish it for the viewers, right, is that you can win asymmetrical warfare if you're willing to do total war, which is you have to be willing to nuke cities and you have to be willing to carpet bomb entire civilian populations. And when you engage in that, you have a very, very limited time. And that limited time means you better win a total war quickly, especially if you have the semblance of a democracy, because your own people will start to side with the enemy. And
so I love that you went into the historical context. That's great. That's perfect. Everything's on point for that. Very good. This is why when someone says that essentially someone's committing sedition or trying to overthrow the government, particularly the U.S. government, it's laughable at this point in era in time, because what's going to happen? Let's say that you somehow remove all of those people that are in the power positions from power. Well, what are you going to overturn it with? Essentially, right now, what do we have? The Constitution. So what are you going to do? Implement something that's not the Constitution? No, that's stupid. The Constitution.
You would still stick with the Constitution. You would
still stick with it, right?
Yeah,
right.
You would replace all these fuckers that don't abide by it.
So
the ones who
people you don't like
break it and commit treason, we get rid of those people and replace them with non-treasonous people, and we leave them hanging on the front lawn of the White House, so that way the new people, when they walk by, go, "Hey, don't break the Constitution.
Don't do that. Yeah. So that's why that's not sedition. You could qualify that as a revolution or a rebellion,
a refreshing of the life tree of liberty.
That would actually be a more appropriate way to describe it, but definitely not sedition. Definitely not overthrowing. No way.
I mean, if you read the full context of Thomas Jefferson's quote, where he says sometimes the tree of liberty needs to be watered with the blood of patriots and tyrants alike, he's mostly arguing that the superiority of democratic elections as opposed to violent revolutions. In that, I like the phrase. The phrase is badass, but he's mostly saying that this has been one of the most peaceful transfers of power ever, because he's making the argument that each individual state peacefully transferred power. So actually, it should be mathematically calculated as like 200 years of peaceful transitioning of power, etc. But there is like there's kind
right
of
after an actual insurrection. He stated this, and he said, "I don't believe what they were doing was right, but occasionally this does need to happen. I agree with their ability to do it." He did it right.
Like he's kind of tacitly supporting it in that document, even though that language is like so badass. I just think it's fair to mention, even though it goes against my own values, the full context.
What he's supporting is every generation's right to define what liberty is.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, but he's also kind of like talking about,
which is really strange,
the peaceful
though. Like
transfer
when
of
someone
power
says originalism is how everyone thinks should go, and we should always look at how they interpret it. I can get it as a
I'm obviously
foundation,
not an
but-
originalist in the sense of
Well,
I'm only
you
a
kind of are in some
originalist.
senses. You do keep like to bring it up.
I am practically an originalist, right? Because I hate the expansion of state power, and what many of those interpretations almost always kind of lead towards that domain of bigger government, more socialism, more taxes, more regulation. And so, I practically fight for an original interpretation insofar as that gets me to the goal, which is a reduction of the scope, size, power, whatever.
But being an originalist forces you to be a hypocrite, because you obviously don't agree with some of it, right? You don't agree with the 3/5 compromise. You probably don't agree with slavery, right?
But that doesn't.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff I don't agree with, right? Like I don't agree with the concept of the Bill of Rights.
And what's the point of being
Obviously,
an
the
originalist
10th
unless
Amendment.
you understand that interpreting the things from the point of where you are instead of where that was is better?
Well, because some of those.
I feel
things
like you didn't
can be
address what I
written-
said, though. I feel like you just like were looking for a dunk or something, right? Like
No,
I don't
no, that's-
believe in the Constitution, right? I only say that I often argue from an originalist perspective because it's
portions of
closer
the
to what it is
Constitution
that I desire, right?
Fabian, what portions of the Constitution do you agree with?
None of it.
None of it. So you don't believe that we should
Maybe I'll
have
be able to take excerpts out of context that I agree with, right? Like
so there are portions.
like
that
I
you
don't
agree
believe we're created in God's image, right? But we can cut that part out and say, life,
Are
liberty,
there-
and the pursuit of happiness. I guess I'm okay with that, right?
Are there property?
I mean, like,
you believe property.
well, I think the
rights.
Constitution is also antithetical to property rights.
Well, no, the Fourth Amendment is clear and evident for property rights, that those searches and seizures.
Sure, but it also gives the government the sole authority to utilize warrants to
Upon an
violate your property
elected
rights.
class.
It also gives you
Right.
which is not elected doesn't mean shit to me. That just means if you lose the
So if you
election,
don't
the government
participate, then
imposes
you don't have a
the
say.
majority belief on you.
If you don't participate, it's not my fault. So we have to live together. We have to. We have no choice on that. So the
Why?
road.
Why do I need to live with
My
Californians?
Lord.
Fuck
So,
California. Why do I need?
how
Why
many
does California
worlds are-
deserve any
How
say
many
over how my
United
life
States
goes?
are there?
Real,
How
real.
many United States are there?
How many United States are there?
State
Yeah. How many Americas are there?
50 nifty United States and 13
Right, so there's
original
one,
colonies.
two,
What do you?
Well,
What's the
United
point?
States of America, right? You've got a choice of 50 states, but essentially, you and I have to live on this land somewhere. How many worlds are there? How many planets are there? There's only one. We have to live on this planet together. At some
I mean,
point,
presumably
have
right
to
now.
get
Yeah,
along.
sure.
we have to get along.
Only uninhabitable.
Right, but I disagree with the concept of the Constitution as a means of us getting along. I think it's a means of oppressing us onto a
So then
governmental
what?
structure that imposes order at the cost of progress and
What
liberty.
legitimacy would provide you that? What
Voluntary interactions. That's it. It's really that
Which
simple.
is-
Voluntarism.
So it has to be written
Voluntarism.
down, right? It has to be written down. Otherwise, there's no concept of what is and what is not. I mean, we can just sit
Right, but
here
the
and argue
Constitution
all day,
isn't a
but
voluntary system. It's a system that
it
imposes
has to
its
be written, right?
So Scott, you don't like
What
it,
are you getting
but
at?
What do you feel that you're being imposed? What are the rights that you want that you don't have?
I mean, where do we start? Number one,
Do you
taxation.
have freedom of speech?
Taxation, right? Taxation is a violation of my human rights and my
Freedom of speech.
on a portion.
Freedom of speech is an.
We have freedom of speech right now. If I told you to go fuck yourself, is somebody going to come to my door and arrest me?
Well,
I mean,
before
it
you
depends.
answer
Are
that,
you in the UK? I mean,
Before-
you'd have it for now, sure.
Before you answer that necessarily, to the chat, you are violating Mater Nation's laws by not sending in tomato tax. You here have to be taxed, and you must pay those taxes. Don't forget, you have a dono goal that you do have to hit if you want to keep the show continue to running. You've got like 34 minutes left on it, so get to working on it now, and I'm not going to bother you later if you go ahead and hit it without me bothering you. All right, back to you, Fabian.
And I still want to know your point on freedom of speech.
I said Fabian. I said back to
sorry.
Fabian. I don't know where everyone heard something else.
Yeah, so freedom of speech, right, is an enshrined recognition of a right that already existed before the Constitution, right? Every human being has freedom of speech, so long as they're on their own property. Pause,
Have you ever been to North
Clay.
Korea?
Pause, Clay. Every human has a right of freedom of speech on their own persons and property. The difference is, Clay. I'll finish. Don't get too excitable, all right? So the difference is there's a difference between having a right and then actually being able to exercise that right without being imposed upon, right? And as you mentioned, in North Korea, you have the right to freedom of speech. That doesn't mean you can exercise it without being killed. Might doesn't make right, but might does make reality. At the end of the day, rights are meaningless in the practical sense. If I can take a gun and kill you and take it away, then like you can say I have that right from a natural law, from a logical position, but that doesn't mean that you can exercise it without the punishment of some arbiter that has decided to violate your rights. It is a violation of your right to freedom of speech to do something.
Fabian, you cannot say anything if you are dead.
Yes, I agree.
So if you're
You
dead,
disagreed with
you don't
me.
have a right to free speech.
Can I ask a question?
But
to
you agree
Fabian?
with me.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
You literally do agree with me. You just don't like the way that I've phrased it.
No,
You're
because I'm
literally
talking
agreeing
about
with me.
legitimacy.
Might doesn't make right. Might makes
Legitimacy.
reality.
Legitimacy makes rights.
What does that mean to you?
So
what do you mean by
Fabian?
that?
Fabian,
Legality. I
like
wrote it down.
when I asked about your rights and what do you not like about our government, you said taxes. That was your first thing. So let's say I granted you and all of us on this panel and the whole United States said, you know what, we're going to exclude you from taxes. We're going to allow you to have that one thing that you hate the most. We're going to remove that. So then I'm going to hire everybody.
Just me or everyone?
No, just you, because you don't like it, right? So I'm just going to prescribe to you alone. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the street in front of your house because that is paid by your taxes. Then I'm going to.
It is also a violation of my rights, the existence of that street.
You didn't.
So okay, you want that street removed?
No, what I want is all public property to be handed over towards private ownership, all of it. There should be no public schools. There should be no public roads. There should be no public.
What you are trying to say is the sovereign citizen bullshit.
Hold on, I'll grant this. I'll grant this.
Let
Right?
Biden,
Okay. So you want
No, the sovereign
everything-
citizens believe crazy shit like we're on maritime law because in like fucking 1812 or some shit they secretly changed the Constitution to be some other.
Cool.
I'm just arguing natural rights.
We'll get to your crazy shit soon
building
enough,
on
don't
this.
worry.
You're saying that the government shouldn't own anything. Everything should be owned by people, right? And this is like the ultimate capitalism, right? Like, now you're basically going everything. There should be no government. It should just be all capitalism. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it should be all voluntary, right? Like if you want to go live on a commune that like voluntarily chooses to like operate under, its own set of rules that economically like look different than capitalism, it's technically still capitalism in the sense that everything is a voluntary interaction there. But you might live on some fucking hippie commune where you all share your fruit or some shit.
No.
And, and when you need to buy an iPhone, you'll do it from some company.
Right? Like I don't
This
get to
is the
eat
pie
her
dream.
tomatoes
This is the
because
dream.
I'm not making the potatoes. So like I don't get my tomatoes and they don't get the potatoes, right? It's still communism. It's still there's still a tax. Everything that we do, we're doing for each other. Correct?
Corporations and companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you
Yeah,
still have law.
company
Still
is a
have
form
laws.
of governance. Yeah, I'm not
Everything
against
comes
laws.
down to money. You basically give the
I'm not
entirety of
against laws.
civilization
Like,
to
what do
rich
you mean?
people.
He's
Okay,
against
so-
the public
So
entity.
what is the difference between a
dictator.
government and a company running things?
They're both forms of governance. There is no difference.
Dictatorship
Okay,
versus a
But
republic.
you prefer
That's the
to be no
difference.
government, just corporations.
Companies are
No, I didn't say that. I'm fine with
that.
whatever fucking government you so choose. What I'm against
Oligarchs
is the
and
state.
dictatorships.
The
That's
state
the way a company works.
is
No,
is,
no.
is non.
Well, hold on. We're
Oh,
talking over each
we're-
other now, Clay. Hold on.
We're
Hold
just
on.
keeping
This-
we're keeping it very
I
simple to your
apologize that I
original
do this
thing.
every time you invite me on a panel, but at the same time, like,
The-
what am I supposed
one
to do?
thing you said-
Sit
well,
there
hold
when they ask me
on,
questions?
Hold on. It's. I know you're a soapboxer, right? There are styles that people have and different panelists have. It's imperative that we all recognize people's different forms of communication. Okay. But with that being said, I know my panelists, my regulars also are very familiar with my rules that if you continue interrupting someone, it starts to piss me
Oh, no,
off.
I'm not worried about the interruptions personally. I'm just saying I apologize for this always turning into an ANCAP theory session.
I'm okay with that.
That's just who I am. You know what I mean? Like, that's my
Yeah,
ideology.
no. Well, it's open panel now, so it doesn't matter. Like, we're on a new channel. It's
Right. I just
you
want
have the
to let you
conversation.
know, right? I can do whatever, right? But yeah, no, I'm against the state. And the difference between governance or a corporation and the state is that the state is a non-voluntary system. The state imposes its will upon you. The state, the United States of America, right, says you don't have a choice. You do what we say or else.
Well, it
right?
is a bit of a voluntary system in the sense that, like, if we look at it
How
locally,
can something be a
and
bit voluntary, right?
if we look at it locally, right, I'm very involved in my local government, and when things are not happening the way I like it, I freaking yell my fucking brains out. I think more of us should do that. We shouldn't give a shit about our president. We need to fucking act locally, right? I want to make sure that my streets are clean. I want to do this. And my taxes, I want to make sure are going to the things I want, right? This is part of me participating. Now, when I hear people like you bitching, I hear somebody that doesn't participate in government. I hear somebody that doesn't like the laws because they're not actually actively involved locally, right? Now, the reason I said you don't like taxes, I say F you because I will delete your road and I will let you sit. And by the way, I love the whole idea of living off grid. And maybe Benjamin,
I don't want to live off grid.
is gonna hate me or love this for this. I love the idea of living off grid and not relying on government. I think it's a great
No,
thing.
I like
But
living in
it's
cities.
great when I am part of my community, I'm contributing to my community, and we're all pitching in to do what we do.
Yeah, but you're not pitching in. It's not voluntary. Just because you involve yourself with the state, local state
Well, actually, if
apparatus
I
in
involve
some
myself,
degree.
that is the definition of voluntary.
Okay, but what if the state does something you don't like
Well, then I
and
freaking
everyone
raise the buckets.
disagrees with you?
Well, that is what you were saying. Might doesn't necessarily make right, but might makes might, right? So obviously, the force majeure is going to rule no matter what. And if, by the way, my next door
Right,
neighbor,
so you obey
if we're
or
living
else.
in your world, if we're living
It's
in
an
your
imposition.
world where it's just all property, if your next door neighbor has more guns than you do, you lose your property.
False.
How?
How is that not true today? You live under that system currently. You live under a system where
No, we actually live under a system that's much safer that says that if my next door neighbor has bigger guns than I do, he still can't take my property.
right. But we're not advocating. We're not advocating. Like, you're imposing this
We are.
idea
You
of
are.
warlordism and anarchic chaos, right?
Well, you kind of are.
But I'm
You
not
kinda
advocating
are.
that. No, but you are projecting what it is that you believe that I believe onto.
No, you're the
as
one
opposed to
advocating
actually
the
saying what it is.
fantasy
How-
that
how
everyone
am I
can live in a
incorrect and
voluntary
correct me,
state without
please?
any kind of force to force them that way.
Again,
I mean,
never made
you
that
said-
claim.
you said,
I've
I
never,
don't
I've
wanna
never
pay
made the claim that
taxes.
force wouldn't be used against people.
But you
Fabian,
did
do you
say-
think you have the right to
said-
travel?
said you don't want to pay taxes.
Do I think
and
I
you
have
don't
the
wanna be a
right
part-
to
You said
travel?
you don't want to be a part of the
You
system.
have the right to travel.
He's not a sovereign
I
citizen.
didn't say that. I didn't say that I don't want to be a part of the quote
He's still
unquote the
trying to get
system.
you on
I'm
sovereign
saying that
citizenship.
the state imposes upon people, and that is wrong. And it's wrong that they do it to you, and it's wrong that they do it to Clay, and it's wrong that they do it to the
But you
panelists.
also said that you want it all to be privately owned. And so if
Yes.
somebody privately owns the road in front of you, How much control do you have that road that is privately owned by somebody else that you're driving on?
Yeah, so
How is
there's
that
there's like a thought experiment called the Blockian Proviso, right, from Walter Block, which is essentially you got in the woods camping, right, and then someone builds like a road or a house or some form of property all around you and quote unquote enshrines you. How do you leave where it is that you are without violating someone else's property rights? Right. And the answer to this is very simple, is that you obviously have some level of easement right to move over another person's property insofar as you homesteaded that easement when you went to that position, and that they, by virtue of blocking you in, they have kidnapped you. They have kidnapped you by creation of private property all around you, and your own body, your own existence has created an easement right that at the very least allows you to leave that property in some way, shape, or form, crossing over their property. Now, when you were talking about a road in front of your house, you're kind of talking about the exact same
by
thing.
your own, but this is their property that now they've encased you in their property, right? And you already made the statement that if somebody's on my property, now if it's an old woman in a walker, it was your example, and she falls over, a good person would pick her up. But then if she's like, yeah, I'm not going to leave, and then she takes a dump on your front yard, you're going to be like, yeah, I can blow her brains out, right? So in this particular case, now they've surrounded you, and what is the scenario where they don't have the right to do the same thing to you, where you're like, I just want to leave my property.
So hold on.
Why do they not have that same right to blow your brains
I tried
out?
to give you the easy answer with the Blockian Proviso and easement rights, right?
Yes, exactly.
If you want the more complicated answer, right, I would suggest there is a reading you can do, which is Common, Private, and Public Property and the Rationalization for the Total Privatization of Property by Hans Hermann Hoppe.
It would end up being what is most profitable for all beings in this.
No, it's not about what's most profitable. It's about where. It's about grounding. Hold on, pause. Hold on. You're interrupting me to tell me what anarcho-capitalism is.
Go on.
Okay, like for just a second, right? It's about the what is the rational grounding of property rights, right? It is of my opinion that the founding fathers and that the Enlightenment discovered a real thing through logic and through an understanding of a bodily autonomy, through the Lockean Proviso, right, and John Locke's second treatise on government. And he describes the means by which private property is created in a very different way than maybe not very different, but in a way that old libertarian philosophy would. And this is why we have an extension of that. So what you were talking about is what is the rationalization for private property itself? Not just do we like it, does it kind of work, but whether or not you actually have that right. And that right comes from a long thing called argumentation ethics. You have to start with grounding logic, grounding the excluded middle, non-contradiction, etc. And you will eventually get to the concept of the first user principle. And the first user principle is essentially saying that this is, let's say, my phone, right? This is my cell phone, okay? I am the user of this cell phone. Now, if anyone else has a right to this cell phone, then what I am claiming is that there are multiple potential people with a right to this property. And the moment that I make that claim, I cannot logically use this exclusively to my own control without violating the rights of others, because there are other potential owners of this property. The only way that we are able to act ethically is if it is true that all property only has one owner. Now, we might get that information wrong. There might be adjudication on trying to solve those things. But at the end of the day, property can only be utilized ethically if it only has one owner. Otherwise, we would fall into contradiction. So when you claim that people can entrap you, right? Or what they are doing is essentially claiming ownership over your body. They're saying that your body cannot escape the domain in which you have put yourself in, or sorry, that they have put you in. And by claiming ownership over that body, that breaks down the very nature of ethics itself.
Okay, so I mean, ethics actually does not
Man, he
say
kept
that
pushing.
anybody.
Do you look at me like that? He kept pushing me for the nerdier answer. I gave the simpler answer. He didn't want to accept easement rights, so I gave like a little bit
But here's the thing: everything you're saying defies logic. I don't think anybody
What
can ever have
what
a
logical
claim.
contradiction? What logic am I?
I'm trying to explain it, right? I don't think anybody has a logical claim on anything on this planet. I don't think there's any logic. And I'll just ask the question: where is the logic?
So is it immoral for you to
Somebody
use
could
property?
Where is the logic? Use logic on that anybody has a claim outside of force.
Is it so? Hold on. You made the claim that no one has a right to any property, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
So,
you
so
just
by
that's what
name,
you're
whose
talking
rights are you violating by using a microphone?
who has rights?
Okay, so the claim is that no one has any rights and that rights are non-existent, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
you're
so
following.
it is only so you're taking the force doctrine approach, right? Which is that
That's not force doctrine. by the way.
there are no such thing as human rights. Okay, so is it wrong for me to rape you right now?
Nope, not at all.
Easy.
It's not wrong. So if
Great,
I rape
great,
you, I've
great,
done nothing
great.
On
wrong.
the words, it knocks it
Great.
down in the algorithm when you
Kills
don't
me
say.
every time.
Right, there is no logic behind what you're saying, and there's no logic behind our humanity where we decide to work together. Now, when we decide to work together, not everybody decides to actually agree with the majority that are working together. And whether it's a corporation, whether it's a government, whether we're building roads together or saying, F you, Fabian, we're going to leave you on the dirt and not include you in this. There is no logic behind that. That is all feelings. That is all
I disagree.
Like,
I disagree. So going back to argumentation, right? Do you accept logic? You're appealing to logic. So do you accept the law of excluded middle, non-contradiction, etc.?
yes, but now
Okay,
I want
so
you
hold
to
on.
use
We
that.
can
I want
establish that.
you to use that to
Yeah, I am.
explain the logic
I
that
am.
you're saying that I
Do you
can
accept
have a claim
performative
to
contradiction?
anything. How I can have a claim to a cell phone, how I can have claim to a
Yeah.
as
I'm
an
going through it.
individual.
I'm going through it.
Okay,
You
let's
want to
do
go
it.
through it? I'll go through it. Do you accept the Habermas's performative contradiction
No.
as logical?
Yes.
Right. So do you accept that it's true? Right. That performative contradictions prove statements false.
Yes.
Okay. So you accept performative contradiction. Okay. So when you are in a conversation with me, right, you are accepting that I am an individual with bodily autonomy.
Well, that is.
Do you agree with that?
I can't necessarily agree with that because I might just be me, and this is all a fiction.
Okay, assume for a second that you're not in that even if you're in simulation, that if you were to go outside of the simulation and there was at least one other person that was also in what's that?
I said we've dug all the way down to solipsism. That's how far we've gotten down in the hole.
Let's just assume
this is a really hard
right,
thing
so-
for him
so-
to
so
like
if-
actually
listen,
actuate.
Let's assume
go ahead.
let's assume I am a being just like you and that I exist, right?
Okay, we
Because
both
if no
exist.
other being exists, then ethics
Let's
do
go
not
down that
matter
road.
because you're the only material being in existence, and all of this is a fantasy, anyways, right? So the Sartre or Dostoevsky, if God isn't real, everything is permitted situation, right? If people aren't real, everything is permitted. But let's assume, for the sake of argument, that I exist, right, and that you exist as a person. Now, in that domain, you are trying to convince me of the veracity of your claims, which is you are recognizing by doing so, by arguing with me, you are recognizing that I am a conscious being that makes rational choices. And you are establishing a moral preference to utilize that as opposed to a game theory system of violence against me.
So if I'm conversing with you, yes, I am conversing with you in the sense that you are a person of thought, but not necessarily a person of rational thought.
You're still appealing to my reason. So you're still
No,
you're still
I might not think
you're not
reason
appealing
is
to my
correct.
reason?
It's Machiavelli. Manipulation, dude.
That's not no.
That's
you're appealing.
Yeah.
That's,
That's the way that works. Yes.
that's
he's
population dynamics. That's population. That's not an
actually
individual.
trying to control you.
It's just
but
me and
even if-
you, right? I'm not.
You are
necessarily
trying to
appealing
convince
your
me
reason.
of the truth of your claims. Yes or no? Are you arguing in earnest? That is the question here. If you are truly arguing, then you are trying to convince me that you are right without
No.
any form of coercion?
Hold on. Let's just pretend it's just like you and me on this panel, right? It's just nobody else exists in the whole world.
Ew.
We
I
need
don't
Sarah because for ethics we need a third person. We need an arbitrator. So it's just you, me, and Sarah. She's a silent arbitrator.
That's genius. But here's the
Because
reality.
you could solve the whole debate
That
by
was the
killing me, and
driest
there would
way
be
to
no other
ask for a
humans.
threesome I've ever heard.
Here's the reality is that I don't even have to even acknowledge your claims. I don't have to acknowledge you as a rational person. I can acknowledge you as a physical person. I could see you, I could touch you, but I don't have to acknowledge anything that you're saying is correct or even reasonable or even rational.
That's
and
not
that's
not what I'm saying.
That's not what I'm saying. That you're trying to push out there.
No,
You're
the
saying
premise that I'm
two
pushing.
rational people. Maybe
No,
I'm
the
totally
premise-
irrational.
No, the premise that I'm pushing.
God,
is
I
that
hate you
if
both
you
right
are,
now.
If you are legitimately arguing, if you are legitimately arguing the truth of your claims in the hope of convincing me that you are right and that I am wrong in some capacity.
What if I don't care if I'm right or wrong?
Well, then you're not arguing in good faith.
Then you're not actually engaged in argumentation. Now you're
Okay,
engaged in some form of coercion or fraud.
Engaged in argumentation, and we're two people on this planet trying to divide up our property.
Right. So then I win the argument because you're not arguing.
But then I have a bigger gun and I shoot you dead, and I get the whole planet.
Well, and
But
that
it
was
doesn't-
what
but-
he
but
just
I already
said.
agree with
was-
that. I agree.
Yeah.
I already agreed that if you shoot me and kill me, that it solves the dilemma, and that if
That's
there's
why
an
he said
arbitrator,
have
the
a third
arbitrator has an
person.
ethical claim that what you've done is wrong. If there
Mhm.
is no arbitrator and there's just two people, then we're not in the domains of ethics because
And
it's
we're
no
also
longer
not in
a
the domain of
societal
reality
function.
because there are coercion tactics in reality. We're in
I
reality.
never said there weren't. I never said there weren't. You think you're making a big point by agreeing with me.
Coercion is not reality.
Right, but you're agreeing with me. I agree.
So we're in
I agree
reality.
coercion exists. I agree might doesn't make right, might makes reality. The
But
question
reality
the question is about
morally-
what
the question
is
is
an
morality,
ethical
right?
So here's the thing. The very question of libertarian the very question of libertarianism is the discovery of a system of ethics that can be moral. That's it.
But once
It is
again,
the only system of ethics that is possible of being moral.
Let's just
Because the
flip
moment
that
that you impose your will, you fall into performative contradiction in any moment that you are arguing. Because if you are arguing, let's say we'll use the term in good faith, then you are recognizing myself just as much as you are recognizing yourself as a separate entity with bodily autonomy
Can I
and
break it
establishing a moral preference, a moral claim that we
Please,
ought
let
not
me-
use violence and coercion, but rather we ought have conversation for an orderly society. And
A
so
father-
you fall
my
into
God.
performative contradiction the moment you claim that libertarianism
A
is
father
false.
and son. The father has some type of autonomy over his son. So he teaches his son to work, how to clean guns, and how to treat women. And if he doesn't
Okay.
do that properly through coercion, that son will learn. Does that make sense to you? That's broke down right down to the family level.
That
Yeah,
doesn't. But that's not an argument against anything that I said. Now you're talking about the fact that you have an undeveloped mind and a guardian
That's
that is
not an
attempting to.
undeveloped mind. That's the mind
Okay,
of reality.
okay, but
I know what
but no,
reality
but what you're
says.
describing, no, but what you're describing, what you are describing are things that maintain the body and the mind towards the natural growth of the individual
Teaches
into a person that is good.
consequences.
Right. But what if I were to chop my son's cock off?
Well, that's
Oh,
not-
That would be
Oh,
wrong.
man.
That's not reality.
That would be evil.
That's
That would
stupid
be
and not
wrong.
reality.
That would be
didn't say
wrong.
that. I
What do you
said
mean that's not reality? There's plenty of girls getting their boobs cut off right now by doctors.
That's not
Would
what I
be
said.
a great time for a grift break, ladies and gentlemen. Holy fuck shit. I don't even want to hear. Oh, ooh. All right. We are down to 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, on the Dono Goal. I'm actually disgruntled because we're digging into a really good conversation and you're not trying to extend it. So, Effigy, let's show everyone how the panelists do it here in Mater Nation. Can you tell the chat what they need to do, sir?
You know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to talk about what that guy was talking about. Holy shit.
Pussy. Pussy. Terrified of
I'm
conversation.
going to use my famed reverse psychology on the chat. I don't think you guys can make the goal. I think you're not going to make the goal. I think you're going to show that the chat around here isn't up to snuff. I think you guys are pathetic because you're not going to make that goal. That's going to be a reality. You're going to miss it, and you're going to be like, "Damn, I let everybody down."
Oh,
That's you.
Especially me. You don't want to let me down, do you?
Shh, Sarah, use reverse psychology. You gotta be quiet.
Dude, don't do that.
Clay, tell them what they need to do, sir.
Man, this is my first night back after like a week or so, and yeah, I'm really not done. I'm done with the weird conversation. That shit went way off. But
of facts.
The actual conversation that is happening with Vibe and the ANCAP, Mr. I cannot.
Fabian Liberty.
Just don't come around long enough to Fabian. You need to come around more. We can change you. We can make sure that you understand that the rule of law works and it's a good thing. So, but for tonight, we're going to do that because chat, you're going to dono. You're going to make it happen. I appreciate you. Thanks in advance. Thank you so much for real. And thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Clay. This is really a really interesting conversation. Vibe is actually making his appearance next Monday on Abortion is Immoral debate with Taylor Fogarty, Team Fatty, Alishness. They're all going to have some fun. But Vibe, you want to stay on tonight, don't you?
Well, actually, that's kind of ironic because I'm known for not being able to land my plane. And I know a lot of people really hate how much I talk. So this is an awesome opportunity for you guys to kick me since I just babble and babble and babble and can't land my plane. You want to get me out of here? $50.
He's the Babylonian. And it's a full hundo to kick him out, actually, for the night, by the way. Mr. Darko, you just got here. It's been a while since you've been here. You're not ready to leave yet. You haven't even gotten to speak yet.
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, what's happening is I'm dying of AIDS because Fabian just keeps talking about stuff that we all very much care about. So I know most of you in the chat hate me. So if you want to see me die of AIDS on stream, then please hit the dono goal so that we can keep this going.
That's terrible. All right, Spin. I will be premiering on his show tomorrow morning between 9 and 11. The event is in the Discord tab. I will also repost it on Raging Tomato and Gauntlet and all that fun stuff on the posts, so you can find us. But Spin, you're not tired yet. You're just kicking off.
I have not rage baited yet, although the sovereign citizen up there is really starting to piss me off. Maybe he needs to go get his sovereign citizen and move to North Korea, where, you know, they don't have a constitution. You do what they say, or, you know, that's what happens. But Sarah and I will be on the panelists tomorrow morning, my brand new show on America Rising Media. It's going to be epic. I'm going to ask the hard questions. But first, what you have to do is donate so she doesn't get much sleep, so I can catch her off guard. That's what you got to do.
Smart move.
Donate. And Sarah, I will make my exit here shortly because I have to be refreshed.
Fair enough. So go ahead and kick Spin out. Someone said $10 to kick Spin out so he can be refreshed for tomorrow and get his beauty sleep that he needs. For the win, I don't think I've heard you say anything tonight. And if you have, I do apologize. I may have not recognized the voice. But go ahead. Tell the chat what they need to do to keep the show running.
No, I haven't been able to get an edge word in here tonight because we've had some very interesting intellectual conversation, I'd like to say. But boy, you guys know what to do. Let's keep this thing going. I'd want to bring this thing back on topic and everything, and ask the simple question. Well, Noah brought it up earlier about, did Biden win the 2020 election? My simple question is a two-parter. One, why did the military have their backs turned that day on Inauguration Day to them on the streets? And two, why did Jen Psaki say, hey, we heard from all branches of the military, but we didn't hear from Space Force?
Fair enough. Excellent question. I'd love to hear the answer to. Shout out to Pass with their membership saying, much love, Sarah, real one, family, and respect. And of course, Mrs. Lone Wolf filling in on behalf of our lovely aunt tonight. Lone Wolf, tell them what they need to do.
Sorry about that. I forgot to turn on. I would like to share the Sarah Bill of Rights here because I didn't have a chance to do that yet. You have the freedom to hear Sarah show. You have the right to bear that subscribe bell. You have the right to quarter in Sarah's garden.
No, you do not.
Well, you want them on the show. You want to watch the show, so they have to be here. You have the right to search and seizure your wallet to give to Sarah, and you don't have to worry about Sarah double jeoparding you.
Ooh, but I might.
Yeah, she might. And you have the right to a speedy donation bell there.
I like it. She told you your Mater Nation Bill of Rights. Fabian, you're getting the heat on you in all of your worldviews. I like it. You like it. And you're not done talking at all. You like your soapbox. You like all eyes on you. So let's keep all eyes on you. But they must first what, Fabian?
Yeah, I'm not streaming right now. So give all the money to her, I guess. I don't really care.
That's easy peasy, simple and done. Mr. Balderson, last but never, ever least, to you, sir. Tell them.
I better go get some cats.
Oh, get the kitty cats. Save the kitties. Save the kitties, ladies and gentlemen.
And the dogs.
No, they're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the rats with homovirus. Yeah.
Mrs. Balderson isn't at home to present the lovely kittens. Oh, they're getting so big. Save the kitties. He will eat them if you don't donate, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we love our kittens.
Oh, don't get catavirus. Don't. No.
All right.
Is it catavirus? Cat virus?
That's what I said.
I would worry about that hantavirus, but it's got to fight the toxoplasmosis off. That's like my general shield for everything.
Fair enough. And Chris Miner says Biden, first robot president. Hail Balderson. And he is hailing the kittens right now. All right, back to you guys. You got 3 more minutes to get through discussion before we move into our 15-minute hit it or quit it mode if they don't start hitting that goal. All right, open floor.
That's what she said, hit it or quit it.
That's right.
So back to what I was saying.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
I'm going to let the rest of the panel talk.
So why did the military have their backs turned to Biden that day, guys? What the hell? You know, if he's supposed to be the commander in chief, if what Fabian said was that, oh, yeah, they certified that election, case closed. Well, why did they have their backs turned? And then why did Jen Psaki say, well, we just haven't heard from Space Force? He's supposedly the commander in chief. Biden? Excuse me?
I said, why were their backs turned to Biden, who was just a candidate at this point?
It was
inauguration. What does Space Force have to do with
the presumed
insurrection?
Space Force has all the data on everything, you guys, and that
so
when quote unquote Biden
on January
was the duly
6th,
elected
president. No, he was not. He
lasers
was not
down at
sworn
the
in yet.
Capitol?
On January 6th, Trump was in charge of the U.S. government. You get that right.
I understand, but who was walking down the street? Who was on inauguration day going down that street? Was it Trump or Biden? It was Biden. Okay. They had their backs turned because they did not agree with that. And that was what the whole point of the military. The military gives their undivining salute to the commander in chief. And that was not that man that day. Fabian, do you have anything with that?
Can I be real honest? I don't think I care.
He probably really doesn't.
Yeah, I was actually gonna
I don't even know much about the fucking Space Force. I was out of the military before that ever existed. What press secretaries say is usually half retarded half the time, anyways.
Well, she is
Yeah, like
retarded,
it
that
just
is
doesn't,
true.
you know, and like the movement and position of, you know, troops and whom they're saluting. Like, I don't know. Maybe you can make me care. Maybe you can string it together and give me a cohesive theory as to why these things happen. But these seem like insignificant details to me personally. But
I mean,
maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe I could strongman everybody. You tell me, fourth win, whether you think I'm incorrect on this. But if I'm strongmanning this incorrectly, January 6th was nothing but a protest.
I would agree with that. But also, I would agree that there was elements of bad actors implanted into that at the same time.
I would say almost.
You know how much
I think even the
cost
left
us?
agrees that, like, obviously there were informants. Like they admitted to at least like 26. I'm sure that it's so crazy to me. This is the thing. Can I just talk about conspiracy
No,
theories?
please
for just a
don't.
second?
Please don't, because you don't know anything
There
about what
are
you're
better
talking about
stuff.
this for sure.
Well, no,
do
just
you know
just
how
a
much
historical
January
thing.
6th cost the taxpayers? Like when it was all like said and done.
Who
cares?
This feels like this
It's
feels
close
like
to
the same
$3
thing.
billion.
This
in a
feels like
single
the same
day
kind of
that they
question
did.
as like, do you know how much the death penalty costs? And it's like, yeah, because of the bloat of the government and like the means by which we
No, that's because of
give them
rights or
additional trials. Yeah,
something.
the government spent a lot of money. Now, it was $3 billion in damages didn't occur, right?
No,
like it's
no.
$3 billion in adjudication and investigations and, you know, random
Oh, no,
security
no.
details and all of this other shit. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, yeah,
That's
the government
just, like,
wastes money.
physical
They
stuff
do that
of, like,
all the time.
reinforcing windows and restoring like historical artifacts and
They
like
actually already had all that paid for 2 months before that. There was a bill that passed to remodel that entire area.
and they
So
dumped
that really
like,
doesn't have anything to do with this.
they dumped a whole shit ton of extra money into the architect of the Capitol in an emergency like spending bill.
What's the
like,
relevance of
January
that?
6th. I don't know,
It
it's
feels
just
like
a
you're
little
trying
fun
to
little
appeal
factoid.
to my like belief in the government
Well,
wasting money.
earlier
So therefore,
when-
we shouldn't fight the government because the government might waste money.
It's
Fucking
not
what?
that.
You know what I mean? Like, I
it
don't.
was to when Noah asked about who won 2020, and you said, "Well, it was a certified election. Case closed."
I literally
And to that,
never
I
said
say, "Yes, you did."
No, I
you said
didn't.
you said it was certified, and that was
No, that was
Yes,
that was
you
no,
did.
that was Jason.
Yes, you did.
No, literally, are you all high right now? Like, I literally said he probably won, but I don't know. And there are so many many ways in which electioneering occurs in so many different governments throughout the world and throughout history. But I assume, based off of all of the information I have, that he probably just won a totality of the votes. But also, I don't really care per se who won more votes, etc., because it's two sides of the same fucking coin. I didn't
So
say
after-
case closed, certified. That was
Well, those
that
were
was
my
Sparky.
words. Part of it. You just ended it with it was certified and just left it at that.
No,
Okay?
that
No,
was
that's-
Jason.
I
But they
literally
both-
never
they-
said
they
that. That
both-
was Jason.
They both said they said, and Noah was the one that brought it up. He asked them, did they win or yes or no? And they both said, we can't tell you honestly, but we are trusting what happened. Am I incorrect?
I mean, I don't know about trusting what happens. I'm just saying
Well,
like,
you-
the evidence that I
nobody
have
counted-
is that he
nobody counted the
probably
votes.
won.
Nobody
I'm
counted the
totally
votes.
gassing on right there is because I know Fabian ain't gonna say it. He's ANCAP. Like, have you not figured that part out at least?
And we are now officially on a 15-minute timer. You need one big fat red dono goal or we quit completely. This is your final bell, final warning. Who will be our hero of the night? If you'd like to continue the show, you got to hit that one singular dono and put my favorite color up on the screen. All right, back to you, gentlemen.
Yeah, see, because I've been down the road with ANCAPs before, and it always leads to basically lines on the road, right? Why do we need lines on the road? Why do we need guardrails? Essentially, right? So because we pay for that. Essentially, you look at the government as if they're some type of public entity. Technically, you're right. That's what it is. But I see it as my private police force. That's essentially the way I see it. They adjudicate all my cases. They execute all of my laws, and the legislators essentially together with the rest of society decide what should be law because we put a vote to it. But you cannot participate in that and then go live on your own island. And so the idea, you guys are thinking that he's something he's not. ANCAPs, essentially, they believe in bylaws, which are company laws, but not state-run laws, which is a corporation, but it's that corporation that calls it public.
Bro, you're wrong about literally everything you said.
So then what's wrong about the bylaws part? Because I know that
that's
company,
sovereign citizen crazy shit. Like, no, I believe in natural law philosophy. I believe in bodily autonomy, and that is the sufficient means to provide private property rights.
Right?
What?
You need rules for your own household?
For your own property.
For your own property, correct, right. So you get to decide where the boundary is for your own property, right? So that's a rule.
I mean, I don't know what you mean by that.
So
what do you mean by I get to decide what the boundaries are?
Private property is decided by boundaries, and so is public property. The only
boundaries are an inanimate fucking thing, and they're not even material. What the fuck are you talking about?
They're not completely inanimate. So when I draw a line,
you can border property by like building a fence, and then the fence becomes physical.
And then whenever I draw it on the map,
that's a form of communication of what your property is, which is a portion of homesteading property, right? Is that it has to be intersubjectively. You have to intersubjectively communicative, right?
We have to write it down. Otherwise, there's nothing. We are just simply sitting here talking. If we don't write it down, I get some type of script to go by.
But didn't you earlier hold up your phone like this and say, what is this? Do I own this, right? And what rights do I have to own this phone, or is this public property? Correct?
I don't know. Are you still making payments, or?
No, I own this. Yeah, no payments. This is owned straight up.
Let me go get my other phone. I own this one, all right? This one we're still making payments on.
But I mean, the question is then...
This one's on lease, all right? There is a contract for the title of transfer of property, and so long as I pay them money, it is of mine. But if I violate said contract, then I have to give up said property, and the property reverts to the individual as a part of the contract that I agree to pay this monthly bill. Sure.
Okay.
The other one I just fucking own if you want to make it simple.
Let's just make it simple. I own this, right?
Sure.
Okay. Now, under what jurisdiction in your world where everything's private, we don't have a government, under which jurisdiction?
I never said we never have a government, but that's fine.
Okay. So we have a government. But we don't pay taxes.
Presumably, yeah. I mean, like if you're going to live into a population of more than 200 people, you're going to need some rules for your society.
Agreed. Right. Okay. So now we're building up to a government, but everything's
never been against government. I've been against a state.
But the government doesn't own anything. The populace, everything. They own the airlines. They own everything. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And under whose jurisdiction, when something goes wrong in certain property rights or my phone rights, if I own this phone and I happen to go into somebody else's jurisdiction of that ownership, do I get to appeal when somebody steals my phone?
Well, it's obviously going to depend upon where you live. It's similar to where we are today.
Okay, so
like you live in the United States, so you're under United States jurisdiction. If you lived in fucking Somalia, then you would appeal to the warlord that's fucking going to kill you and take your kids if you don't obey him. What's the point of this question?
I'm trying to understand your world, right? So there is no public road. There's no existence of public roads. So when I pull out of my driveway,
there is no United States, right?
I am pulling into somebody else's road.
It's like Prince. There's an area formerly known as. You know what I mean?
No, please explain this to me, because actually, I would love to.
These are actual problems with arbitration and anarcho-capitalism.
You're dodging. That is convincing me that this philosophy is a good one.
I'm not dodging. I know you guys really love your insults.
By the way, I am being good faith here. I really
know. I'm talking.
I wish we wouldn't even go down this road and stick on the topic, but
yeah, I mean, I'm the one being interrogated. What do you want me to do? You accuse me of dodging, and then also accuse me of being like,
tell me
why are we going down this road? You know what I mean?
Where am I
damned if I do, damned if I don't.
It.
So here's the thing, right? The question is not about like I understand that you want to understand what this looks like in reality, right?
And I want to know how it
And
works.
if I could hold on, if I could adjudicate every infraction in my mind that would ever exist in the future, then central planning would actually work and socialism and communism would be good. The problem is that it doesn't. I'm not going to sit here and claim to know what every little township or Liechtenstein or thing and how it's going to work.
What's it
What I
look
can
like on a
say is
global
this.
level? I
No,
don't
no,
need the micro.
listen. I promise I'm answering your question.
I
right?
understood it.
So if you're Amish, right? Well, maybe let's not choose Amish because Amish probably aren't gonna. Well, Beachy Amish, they have cell phones, right? So you live in an area, and in that area, you guys have chosen that you have a council of elders. Everyone that lives there, the Amish, for example, are very anarcho-capitalists in the sense that when you come of age, you do Rumspringa, right? Like you leave, you only live in Amish country if you voluntarily choose to abide by their religious faith and their principles. It is essentially a purely voluntary society, with the exception that it's enshrined in the United States and they have to pay taxes, etc. Right? But the way that they internally operate is very anarcho-capitalist. So if you break the rules there, right? Let's say, for example, the ones that do have cell phones, they often have rules about whether or not you have to let church members see your cell phone because they want to make sure that you're not watching pornography or that you're not cheating on your wife or that you're not doing things that don't uphold the values that they have in that society. If you choose to break those rules, then it is like you have broken the voluntary agreement that you have put forward by agreeing to have those individuals over you. And so you will face some form of force or some form of punishment, whether it be, if it's Amish, it's almost certainly going to be banishment because they tend to be pacifists, right? But if you live in a city that a bunch of insurance companies are competing for your rights enforcement agency rights, and they use arbitration between competing firms when there's a disagreement between Geico and Nationwide, right? And they both represent your property rights, just the same way they do with cars, right? When you get in a car crash, most of those don't go to court. You get into a car crash, they determine this guy was at fault, and then that insurance company pays your insurance company. Sometimes you get money for repairs. Every now and then it gets moved up to litigation. The only difference is that the final arbiter under our current system is the United States courts. And if it's Nationwide and Geico and an ANCAP society, they've already predetermined that there is an arbitration firm that they both agree to use. And when you sign up for Geico or when you sign up for Nationwide, you agree that in the event that your insurance companies can't handle this, that they're going to use a third-party arbitration firm to adjudicate things. And if you disagree with it, you disagree with it, but you already gave those rights away to that process so that it would be much simpler for you to go about your day-to-day life. So there are all kinds of different rules and ways and things that you could. You could go live in a hippie commune. You can go live with the fucking Amish. Or you can live in a city where insurance companies are running most of the shit. The difference is that
a few arguments against that. And I want you to explain this to me, how your view is different than mine. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole idea of the United States is that states have those options. Right. So we have states that have no fault insurance. We have states that have fault insurance. Right. Every state has their own options, which is kind of like in the idea of what I feel like you're grasping at. But in your ideal world, since you went to insurance and like, how do we insure and how do we do this in your world? How would insurance work?
Okay, you're asking me to solve all of the world's problems.
No,
and to build the perfect society.
It's the greatest
no,
thing.
No.
It's
antithetical.
Speaking
it's antithetical
of solving
to let me
all
just finish this very
problems,
quickly.
hold on, Fabian.
You
have less than 4 minutes to solve our problem.
I'll finish
here.
this. I'll finish this very quickly. The libertarian theory is about what systems are capable of being moral. It is not about building like a city sim the exact right system.
Do, not what you can
right,
do.
Like it's no. What I'm saying is when you're like, well, how will this look? How will this look? I don't know. I'm not an expert in insurance. I'm not an expert in micro, like biochemistry. I'm not an expert.
Yeah, but you're
things.
smart enough to figure it out, right?
When I'm smart enough to have a couple of ideas, I've flouted several at you, and then you're like, no. Let's really dig into the details of how your city of 250,000 people will adjudicate this one thing.
But this is the reason.
And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Nobody knows.
Your world sounds just like my world. and the one that you
It
and I
is
live in
very.
right now.
There's going to be a lot of
Doesn't sound
similarities.
any
People
different,
think.
and I'm asking for where the difference is.
People think that there is this massive difference between anarcho-capitalism because they have an idea of this like insane like anarchy, chaos, Mad Max road system. What I am advocating for is that instead of having a completely inefficient, fucked government handle your roads, you have a fucking company that has the right to handle the roads that they want and charge the toll roads that they want. And you have capitalism be able to have competition instead of a monopoly that the state does, where the state keeps giving NGOs and politicians tons of your fucking money so that some construction company that's super unionized and is completely inefficient spends $15 billion to build a bridge. Instead, what we have is we have two companies, and the two companies build two bridges, and one company does a really, really good job at it, and another company does a really shitty job at it. And what ends up happening is everybody uses the good company. It ends up being cheaper toll roads. It ends up being more efficient, so you have more of your own money. And then some other company comes along and buys that other road and fixes that fucking road. I am asking for a system that is voluntary, and by its nature of being voluntary, is monumentally more efficient than the system we use, where we use a game theory kind of election system of imposing majority will against other people.
And speaking of capitalism, it is rocking on here in Mater Nation. Zero Dark 4 deserves all the tomatoes in the chat as much as possible because they have officially funded the next hour. Shout out to you, Zero Dark 4.
I'm not staying another hour.
You don't have to, but we absolutely will party on and continue going. But thank you so kindly. That's really awesome. Welcome, and we appreciate it. So to my chat, tomatoes, please, because Zero Dark 4 put my favorite color on the screen. You can give them my favorite color in the chat. All right. I believe Spin has to go to bed to get his beauty sleep. You want to say your final thoughts and get out of here?
Absolutely, Sarah. What?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Sarah, see you in the morning. It's going to be fun. America Rising .media. Oh, Sarah, I've had so much fun, but we will see you in the morning, folks. Have a good night.
Good night.
Rest, brother.
All right, and Vibe,
I will for the win, and I will see you in the morning.
And Vibe, I believe we were kicking it back to you. I think you were responding, or you were going to respond.
Oh no, I'm good. I'm leaving it to the panel.
Okay.
So Vibe, earlier you were talking about like storming